We are live. We are live in the building. What is going on? What is up, everybody? Do appreciate each and every one of you, whether you're catching it live or you're catching it after it's uploaded. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the like button, whether you're catching it live or you're catching this thing after it's uploaded. Appreciate everybody. See people coming on in the building. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Let's get ready to go. I did a short pre-recorded video on this, but it was so much here that I couldn't possibly get to it all. So I said to myself, I'm going to eventually go live on this topic. I said to myself, I'm going to eventually go live on this topic. And here I go. About to go live on this topic. Just a little pre-ramble. On a show, I think the show is called Valuetainment or something like that. Hafeez from the Roommates and Coach Greg Adams were both on the show. Shout out to Uneducated Lame in the building. They both were on the show. They were discussing marriage and a number of topics, and it turned into an epic and slightly heated debate. And it's a lot to unpack there, So we're about to dig on in, about to dive on into it, about to do a more in-depth breakdown of this thing. So without further ado, let's strap on in. Let's get ready to go. Let's get it.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
All my controls are thrown off. I'm messing up here. All my controls are off. I'm clicking on all kind of buttons that I ain't supposed to be clicking on, doing stuff I ain't supposed to be doing, but we in here. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard. Welcome to the show. Shut up, Snuggles. Said drop the link. Can I come on the panel today? You know damn well you ain't coming on no panel. But shout out to the early bird squad, those that make it in bright and early before we even get things started. Shout out to RM that hit the like button on the way in. Shout out to Sun is Hot Raw. Shout out to Black Man Unfiltered Network in the building. Uneducated Lame. Shout out to Red Scorpio, Snazzy Individual, Bill Stryker. Shout out to Bill Stryker. Do appreciate you came through on the Cash App and do appreciate that yesterday. Do appreciate it. Yeah, and I accidentally hit the beta button. I said I gotta take that one down ever since that. I ain't even gonna talk about Jesse Lee Peterson. We're just gonna keep it moving. All right. We're gonna keep it moving. But shout out to everybody in the building. Glad each and every one of you could be here. And as usual, I'm still dotting I's and crossing T's. As I get this thing going, as I get this plane off the ground. RIP to the late great Kevin Samuels. He says, "Build it while you fly it." What if you ain't got it off the ground yet? That's what I'm trying to figure out. All right. What if you ain't got it off the ground yet? But shout out to everybody in the building. Shout out to Jamar81. See y'all in here. See y'all in here. We about to get this thing going. We're about to get this thing going. Even right now, as we speak, I am attempting to pull up the original video, the video that I will be reacting to. Even right now, as we speak, I'm attempting to do that. I got a rough timestamp of where I want to start, a little bit after where my pre-record ended off at. Sort of a little bit after that. That's about roughly give or take where I'm going to start with this thing. So I'm about to dive right on into it. Not going to waste no time because I'm starting late today. This is a late 1 p.m. start. Late 1 p.m. start for me. I know I normally try to do it. I try to start it off in the AM. Try to start it off in the AM, but I'm all deep up into the PM right now. All deep up into the PM right now. Let me adjust. All right. We in here. Shout out to JC the Conqueror getting us started off right. With a $20 super chat. Do appreciate that. JC the Conqueror getting us started off right. I do appreciate that. But let's get ready to go. Let me put on the headset and get this thing going. My little early analysis, okay? Let me give my little early analysis before I start playing RM with the Don DeMarco. All right. My little early analysis of this discussion, it cuts right to the core of one of the issues with my channel. One of the biggest things I'm conflicted on. When I talk about what's wrong with the Black community, I have to point to the fact that there's a lack of families. I got to point to that fact. All the data shows, people say, "Oh, this is a Republican talking point." Well, the Republicans are right about this. All the data shows, liberals try to sweep this under the rug, but all the data shows that Black people born into a two-parent household tend to do better, and a lot of the gaps, not all, but a lot of the gaps between Black and white tend to close. So, simple solution, hey, Black men, Black women come together, work it out, raise kids together, and then, hey, everything will be great. Simple solution, right? Well, there's an issue with that. And that issue also cuts right to the things that Coach Greg Adams speaks about, to where you got Hafeez on one side, making what I'd assess and determine to be very passionate and emotional arguments, saying that he wants something to happen. He wants to see this. He wants to see men able to raise their kids. So it's like my heart agrees and understands where Hafeez is coming from, but my brain can't refute or argue with anything that Coach Greg Adams is saying. So if I got to choose my feelings or my intellect, I'm going to go with my brain. That's where I'm going to go with it. And that's where the problem is. There's lots and lots and lots of reasons why this whole thing, this whole thing, the lack of families and all of that. It's a reason why it's a thing. And I think people like Hafeez tends to bark up the wrong tree. You're not barking up the tree of the people who are filing, 80% of those divorces. You're not barking up the tree of the people who are incentivized to have kids without a marriage. You're not barking up that tree. You're barking at the men to just be better, just do better. And if you do better, then the women will do better. I don't think that's a satisfying, acceptable argument. I don't think that's a satisfying, acceptable argument. But shout out to JC the Conqueror in the building. Says salute BR. Let's go Cowboys. And yeah, I'm going live right when football jumps off. Probably not a good idea on my part to do that. But let's get ready to go. Let's roll some of this not so beautiful bean footage. Let's get ready to go. Let's get it. Where's it at? I can't find it. Let's go.
Guidance. So I think it's a marriage of those two ideas to be. There's no have issues because it's all feelings. And to me, which is why I love Adam, is about balance.
I got to back up a little more.
In life, they lose a lot. You lose your job. Who's going to come save you?
Okay, this is part. This sort of speaks to where I was at on the pre-record, where he was saying that, well, men lose everything. If you lose your job, nobody's going to save you. You lose this. Men are expected to lose. Okay, but there's a risk reward element of taking the job and earning the money. If you like the job and you make good money while you're at the job, where you lose the job, well, okay, it was great while you were there, and the job didn't get to continue to hurt you after his loss. You just got to go find another job. So he's making a bad argument there, but I went back further than what I wanted to go. But we'll roll into it.
You lose, you're gonna lose a lot. You fail, you're gonna fail a lot. So I'm not saying that it's wrong, like marriage doesn't count. I'm saying marriage is a part of all the things as a man where you cannot get wrong, which is why I agree with the message that you're giving at times. That's why you got to be 100% serious. You don't go at this naive. You don't go at this because you understand that there is a cost for this decision. So going back to the Eastern thing, but on the West, you have marriage as all feelings. Oh my gosh, we love each other. Oh, we don't, you know what? You make $1 million, I make $10,000. We're gonna be together for the rest of our lives. Oh, you're this, you're that. Oh, your dad was an alcoholic. We'll never have any problem. Like it's a very naive model, right? Mm-hmm. That's why Western marriages have issues because it's all feelings. And to me, which is why I love Adam, is about balance.
See, I don't know exactly why he's saying a Western marriage is all about feelings, when a Western marriage is mostly, I won't even say mostly, is literally those legally binding documents at the courthouse. That's what a Western marriage is. Shout out to the lead attorney. A marriage is a contract. I'll say it again. A marriage is a contract out here. So if he's saying is that people are putting their emotions and feelings in it, and that's all they're doing, that's all they're looking at, they're just putting all their emotions and their feelings into it without considering that contract, then I understand what he's saying. But that the problem and the issue with the contract and the state being in it, the problem and the issue with that contract and that state being in it is that that's going to supersede whatever feelings and emotions is going on there. That's going to supersede and trump over any feelings and any emotions that are going on there. So, right, you can't sit there and just get married on some, I love you, you love me, we love each other, and let's just go off into some love nest and do that. But while we're walking off to this love nest, let's sign these legally binding documents to give her protection. It's like, that's the legit situation. That's the legit situation. And so I'm already coming out the gate looking at this, like, to some degree, it's like he's acknowledging the points, but talking past the points. I think we're going to see a lot of AIM, what they taught when I sold cars for 6 months. Acknowledge, ignore, then move on. There's going to be a lot of really crafty versions and renditions of that going on here.
Mm-hmm. How do we balance these two ideologies? Because to Ali's point, if it's all logic, it's boring. If it's all robotic, there's no passion, there's no excitement, there's no je ne sais quoi. It's just a dry thing that in the modern world, people don't want that, right? But if it's all feelings, there's no structure, there's no protection, there's no wisdom, there's no guidance. So I think it's a marriage of those two ideas to be able to create long-term solutions for long-term success. And that's why I just think sometimes when we come from too much leaning on one direction, Either or, it becomes problematic.
I believe he.
So, in short, what he was trying to say, now that I hear it all the way through, what he was trying to say is that you have to merge the logic with the feelings and the emotions. I mean, you gotta love somebody and want to go run off to that love nest, but make sure you dot all the I's and cross all the T's and everything and blah 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 going in. You know, if you can do that via prenup and the prenup holds up in court, then okay, yeah, all right, that'll work. You can't prenup your kids. She's going to get them 90% of the time. So it's, you know, there's that heartbreak there. But if you could prenup everything else and the prenup holds up, then yeah, okay. Here's the deal. When the prenup doesn't hold up, or when people don't get the prenup, or as Coach Greg Adams breaks down, a lot of the younger people involved in this, the younger man doesn't even understand what he has at stake to potentially lose, because he's not 40 years old yet going through a divorce when he's built some things and now he's losing half of what he's built. So the young man doesn't quite understand that. The young man does not quite understand that. So when they're getting married, and he's talking about merging the logic and merging the emotions together to make a perfect cocktail of a marriage, the fact of the matter is, none of it matters when the judge reaches in his desk and just pulls out a contract and says, well, this is a contract, y'all are married, and this is what we're going to do in a divorce. Like CGA said in this, if you've never been in that, I think you're about to say it next, actually, if you've never been in that lion's den or that belly of that beast in a courtroom, he said, you've never been in a marriage. Like, that's truly what the marriage is. All the other stuff is window dressing. You find out that the marriage is a contract once you go through a divorce. You find out that it's a contract. So the merging the emotions, I mean, it's in theory, it's a good thing. It's a, you know, saying we're emotional and we love each other and lovey-dovey. Let's go run off in a love nest, but let's, you know, be logical, analytical, critical, empirical, and all of that stuff as well. That doesn't hold as much weight when you got a biased courtroom slanted towards her and a contract held over your head. It's like it doesn't shape out. So it puts them in a situation where they're less incentivized to do this thing that Hafeez is going to argue that they need to do for the betterment of society, for the betterment of the next generation of young men. They're not incentivized to do it, and the women are in many ways more incentivized to not do it. And if they get into it, they're, you know, in many ways incentivized to blow it up and ruin it. So it's that issue has to be dealt with before you can really truly make the argument about men raising the boys. Because if you want men raising their sons, like he said he had his father in his life, if you want to see that for more men and more boys, you're barking up the wrong tree if you're barking at the guys who only signed a divorce, who only filed for a divorce 20% of the time. And I had a lawyer on my show. Who made it quite clear that 90%, that 80% divorce rate, he said the women filing 80% of divorces, he made it quite clear that it's probably closer to 90, maybe 95, because he said a lot of times when the man files for the divorce, it's a lot of times it's because they've been broke up for a while. The woman doesn't have necessarily the money to file and do all that and get, so the man becomes the plaintiff, because he goes ahead and puts the paperwork through. But it's her that actually wants the divorce. But the man is the one that put the paperwork in place. That's how it tends to work. So even that 80% of women that file divorce 80% of the time, when you really take away, you know, when you average that into the equation, it's probably closer to 90. So again, you're barking up the wrong tree if you're barking at the men about what they need to do. But when they do it, the women break it up 80% of the time.
He agreed with me, though. I thought he was disagreeing.
Well, I guess I was agreeing. Yeah, that's how I play. I was like, yeah.
Just to be clear, did you get a prenup when you got married?
No, and I
you didn't.
I'll explain to you guys why. So I think.
All right, this was where I wanted to start at right here.
Talked about this. I love the prenup conversation. I think it's important.
Mm-hmm.
There's three reasons why I didn't get a prenup. But the first reason is I actually believe prenups are good and bad. They're good because they protect you. They're bad because they don't protect you enough. What I personally believe is something which I did research about this called.
They're good and bad. They're good because they protect you. They're bad because they don't protect you enough. Therefore, don't get a prenup and have no protection. I hope he wasn't saying that. Okay, I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna try not to nitpick. I'm gonna try not to nitpick because it's like you can't help but call out some when it's coming off like word salad. It's hard to not call it out, but I want to not nitpick because there's a good conversation being had here. I want to not nitpick, but it's difficult. It's difficult. Oh boy, let's go.
Called a marriage contract. You may not like this, but please give this to me. How many kids do you have?
3.
So let's say Allie married her man and she said she wanted 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
She gets married, she wants 3 kids. All of a sudden,
prior to
marriage,
okay,
he
gotcha.
agreed. She said, honey, I want 3 kids. Is that cool with you? He said, of course, baby, you want 3 kids. We're gonna have 3 kids. She's married. 5 years into it. Hey, when are we having our kid? Next year. When are we having our kid? Next year. It's year 8. He's like, I don't want any kids anymore. Should she stay in that marriage? He agreed, and she both agreed that we were gonna have 3 kids. That's why she married him. When it was time to have kids, he changed his mind. Well, I don't want kids anymore. Should she stay in that marriage? Let's go on the guy's side.
Like that conversation is relevant if no fault divorce is a thing. Like, put it like this: if you have to have a reason to get a divorce, like you don't have to have a reason to get a divorce. So even bringing that up, like a woman for that reason could just go file, or for even a more arbitrary reason. But if a woman did get married and she want to have kids, and the guy decides to change the game up and doesn't want to have kids, then okay, I do think that's a sound reason for a breakup, because one person, something that big, the marriage, people get married wanting to have children. If one person just says, I don't want them midway through the game, I think most people could agree that that's fair, that's a sound reason for separation.
Because the red pill guys, I don't want kids anymore. Should she?
Okay, now listen, it as a jab.
Stay in that marriage? Let's go on the guy's side, because the red pill guys love when guys are being the victim. So you're a man.
Now, did y'all hear that? That's what I wanted to get to. And this is going to be a reoccurring theme. He said, let's go on the guy's side, because the red pill guys love when the man is being a victim. Men speaking up and letting guys know what they're up against, letting guys know the dangers, the potholes, the this, the that, like any man who shits on that whole enterprise, like, dude, like you, like I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this a few times. Hafeez used to be, KG, a bad faith argument. Hafeez, as simple as this. I mean, not Hafeez. I mean, this as simple as this with Hafeez. Wow, he said Hafeez Smith. Yeah, cut it out. Cut it. I mean, let me get out the chat. It's as simple as this. He used to be, one of the Derrick Jackson guy. Like, put it like this: that whole little pipeline, Derrick Jackson, Stephon Lavoisier, the roommates was kind of in cahoots with them. When they used to do their little tours or whatever, the roommates would be there with them. I mean, they were a part of that group. They were a part of that clique. When Kevin Samuels blew up, I hope I got the timeline just right, but from what I noticed, when Kevin Samuels blew up and Hafeez started seeing that it was, I guess, not more profitable, that you could be successful and be hardcore and critical of women, he kind of dipped his toe in that. That's why you saw him on Fresh and Fit. That's why you saw him, talking to Kevin Samuels. It ain't really that big deal, because I mean, he'll talk to anybody who has a big platform. That's what they used to do. They used to interview people. But he dipped his toe into red pill content, and then now that wave of his content has came and went, and it's almost like he's going back to his roots now. He's trying to essentially reestablish a certain amount of blue pillness. It seems he's trying to reestablish that, and he's making yeah, a lot of more, like I pointed out in the chat room, a lot more disingenuous Derek Jackson sounding arguments, and he's taking serious jabs at the red pill. So whenever anybody says the simple fact that these red pill guys love when the guy is the victim in a situation, anybody who's trying to run interference, or deflect away from men talking about these problems, because there was nothing like this. It was, women had things where they were able to speak to it from their perspective, from their issues, and even when the men was on there speaking, even when the men went on these talk shows, even when it's like the you didn't hear the raw perspective from men. You didn't hear that. Now, any man who's in these conversations trying to depict the men who are speaking up for men as like they're weak, or they like when the guy they're being victims, they're doing this. Like, I'm like, bruh, like that to me, that is the worst. That is the absolute worst. He gave a very sympathetic situation that I understood and agreed with. That a woman, who got married, 1.5 kids, and they 8 years in, and he say, "Hey, I don't want kids no more." Yeah, she rightfully should, leave before she get too old and find somebody who want to marry her that she can have kids with. I get it. Like, that's what he said. But now when he's about to make a point for the, for the male side of it, he's gonna he already started with a jab saying, because you red pill guys love to hear a story where the man is the victim. I'm like, come on. He's basically saying, men, don't put your guard up. He acknowledged that it's a fight, that it's a battle, that it's a problem. Well, he's going to say that it's not later on, but he acknowledged that it's a complicated situation. He acknowledged that, but then again, at the same time, he's also saying, okay, but put your guard down. Well, no, I'm not saying put your guard down, but all y'all talking about ways you need to put your guard up. Y'all just love hearing these stories where the man is the victim when he didn't have his guard up. It's like so it just turns into. It just reeks of nonsense. But Jackie Jack in the building with the super chat says, "I really wanted you to cover more of this show. Thank you." Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I was only able to cover a little bit of it in that pre-record, but now we're about to get all the way in it. This is the second or third person who came here and said he making bad faith arguments. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of bad faith arguments. There's a lot of bad faith arguments.
And in your marriage, you agreed that we're gonna have. Should she stay in that marriage? Let's go on the guy's side, because the red pill guys love when guys are being the victim. So you're a man, and in your marriage, you agreed that we're gonna have sex, let's say twice a week. That's
an agreement.
I'm just saying
that's a verbal contract.
We're agreeing that we get in at least twice a week. All of a sudden, she's like, I'm not in the mood anymore. She's like, oh, now I'm on my period.
That won't be all of a sudden. That'd be almost immediate. But go ahead.
Okay, and then months into it, right?
Yeah.
She says, well, I only want to have sex once every 6 months. Should he stay there? You both agreed initially, like, yo, we're gonna do this consistently, and now he's getting it. Should he stay there? So to me, what's very important about the marriage is that before you get into it, both of you guys need to agree upon everything. This is where I think the nuance in the evolution, agree on everything, so the woman's protected as well as the man is protected. And
he's saying agree upon everything so the man is protected, and the woman is protected. But then he just said that he just gave 2 examples of how a person could agree on something and then change their mind on it. So how is anybody protected because there was an agreement? A verbal agreement doesn't mean jack shit. So saying that we need to talk and agree, no pun intended, saying that we need to talk and agree on at least how many times we're going to have sex. If she arbitrarily decides, nah, I ain't doing it, that doesn't protect. That just means you signed a contract that didn't include how many times y'all going to have sex. And then she changed her mind and said, we're going to have sex once every 6 months. And now you're stuck in a legally binding document at the courthouse with a woman who's not having sex with you. And then you go and have sex with somebody else, and she got, grounds for the divorce. And I shouldn't even say she got grounds for the divorce, because she could just do it anyway when she want to do it, because it's no fault divorce. So you're talking about all of this stuff to agree on. Yes, it's good to talk about it. It's great to have those conversations. It's great to come to, to have an understanding of what's expected. But to make it seem like that is somehow contractual is not. So that's why I don't understand what he's doing right there. I mean, if he's just saying if he's just trying to give good general advice to, hey, come together, talk about it, agree, and try to keep your arrangement and be a good sport. Like if that's what he's saying, then okay. But he's using the word protection. Like there's no protection there.
So to me, that's what me and my wife did before we got married. We talked about everything, every single scenario, every single thing. Me, I'm not a money guy. I'm not motivated by money. So therefore, the money, like I'm different. Everyone knows me. I'm not a money guy. So you can have all the money. I have my brain. Mm-hmm. I can start from ground zero. I'll build the money back up. I don't mind money. But to me, because it's another argument that we can.
That was just, I'm trying not to nitpick. That's disingenuous, because his whole thing about teaching men how to be the best version of themselves and self-improvement and bettering themselves, it is about money. That's what he does. That's why when he first started his channel, that he was, it was called The Roommates, which it still is. And him and his dude that he do it with, I forgot his name, they looked like some actual college roommates or some just got out of college roommates. But now he's, become successful. I think he sells suits and stuff, and got some little slogan or suit brand or something called The Standard, and he says, the men of the standard becoming the standard, he's merging aspects of the Kevin Samuels thing, but he understands that when you have that money in this modern day, when you get married to a woman, while you have that money, if she wants to go left on you, she could take the money, and there he knows there's no counter argument to it. He knows he can't make a intellectually satisfying argument when it comes to that aspect of it. So he has to pretend like he doesn't care about something that he's now building his whole persona on, and that's being successful. He don't care. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the money, but your whole persona right now is built on thriving to be successful. Like, come on. It's so many disingenuous arguments coming out here that I almost didn't want to do this, because I was going to feel like I was nitpicking. Like, damn.
Talk about later is that the kids is a whole different conversation. Kids are more wealth than money. So I was more obsessed with children than money, because end of the day, like I said, we can talk about that later. But so
I agree with him on that. Losing kids for me, I speak for myself. Losing kids, and by losing kids, I mean that every other weekend Wednesday from 5 to 8. That to me, that's losing kids. That break my heart more. It really would. It really would. And that was what I, fought for in my divorce when I was in the belly of that beast, as Coach Greg Adams called it a couple times on this show. And I was in the belly of the beast. It wasn't even the money. But I mean, our money was sort of complicated. I didn't go through that kind of divorce where it was, losing money. It was the fight over what's going to happen with my children. That was the fight for me. And so I understand where he's coming from there. But he's still being disingenuous when he's pretending like the money doesn't matter. I'm not a money guy. I don't care about. Yes, you do. It's just no sound argument. It's no sound argument. I'll reiterate again. Marriages and families and fathers raising sons is good for society. It is. But when we got a society post second wave of feminism that incentivizes women and helps women and gives women everything they need to basically not need a man and be functional and thrive without a man, and they could have a family, whether they're attached to a man or not, because of family. A family nowadays is just, an adult and some children. That adult can just be a woman. It could be two women, it could be two men, but a family is just an adult and some children. That woman can have a family. She can get semen from anywhere, and then she got a family and go buy a house. That's why women are buying more houses than men, because they don't even view family as man, woman, child anymore. It's just woman, child. That's a family. Women get their children. they go buy houses the way that married couples used to go buy houses. Men don't buy houses until they get married. We was talking about that on my last live show. Men typically don't buy houses until they get a family, but women are buying up a lot of houses because to them, if they just get pregnant by somebody, I got a family, let me go buy a house and to be the head of a household. And so like they're a man can only have a family if he's attached to that woman for the most part. So women are essentially incentivized to do it. If they can take care of themselves without a man, they're in a situation where they don't need one. They can have their kids. They can take care of them. They can do their own thing. If they fail at doing that, they can fall back on the state assistance. If they somewhere in the middle where they're not really thriving, taking care of them good, but make enough to where the state and assistance isn't quite great, and then eventually, sometime down the road, she could probably get a stepdaddy bailout plan. But the fact of the matter is, she's not incentivized like she used to be to want to stay in that marriage for the family and work it out. They're looking at it in terms of money and how it benefits, and probably very few of them are just truly thinking, I really love this person, want to spend the rest of my life with them, and all of that. Very few of them are truly thinking like that at this point, from my perspective, from what I see, and when we look at the data and see how much that they're filing the divorce. That if they're filing 80% of divorces, that means for very fleeting reasons, emotionally erratic, up and down reasons, that they're stepping off, stepping on, stepping in, stepping off. It turns into that situation. 218 people in the building. Make sure you hit the like button. Shout out to Little Big Nate in the building. Sorry if I missed some super chats. I don't got me in here catching all the super chats. I just saw. All right, I think I got it. I think I caught my last one. Face Facts in the building. Tell Simp Talk with Hafeez that you can also losing furniture, earrings in a divorce. You can also lose furniture and earrings in a divorce. Yeah, I lost my ice trays and pillowcases. Anyway, I'll just play. But she could still take from your so-called rebuilding. Oh yeah. It can. That's the thing too. And see, the thing is, I'm not a Debbie Downer about marriage and family and all of that. I'm really not. I just don't like gaslighting arguments. That's like my biggest thing. I don't want to see, and I don't like to see men gaslit earnings. I'm sorry. Future earnings. Okay. All right. My bad. Yeah, I know I need glasses. Future earnings. I said furniture and earrings. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's bad. That's bad. It's true to Tater, Texas. If you are engaged and break it off, you can ask for the ring back. Oh wow, somebody said simp Maxie. All right, let me get back into it. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get them. I hate having anything on my face. Like I hate having these headsets on my head. I don't wear hats. In contacts, I just can't get in contacts and sitting there doing that. I'm just suffering through it. But eventually I gotta break down and get some glasses. I gotta break down and get glasses eventually. But all right, let's get back into this.
To me, in regards to losing money, I don't care about losing money.
That's a lie. But anyway.
So to me, in regards to losing money, I don't care about losing money. Take whatever you want. If worst case scenario things happen. But by having a marriage agreement, both of you guys understand what's expected of you. And if one person obviously breaks this agreement, both families know. So if she wants a certain amount of kids and I say I don't want it anymore, then her family knows, though, yo, Hafeez, you promised my daughter this, you didn't give it to her, so it makes sense that this marriage is no.
So is this? We all understand what a pre.
And real quick, that's essentially my point, to put a final bow on this part of the discussion. Nothing wrong with marriage and family. I hope hopefully we understand that, and hopefully I don't got to make a case for why marriage and family is a good thing. Hopefully I don't have to make a case why that is the case. But it's the destructive laws that prohibit it. I think it's the destructive laws and the I think just the mentality of a lot of women nowadays. Destructive laws and just the culture. The culture of just how women operate nowadays. I think it's more so that. I think it's more so that it's a combination of it. It's a combination of all of that. It's the laws, the culture, and the society, what people are incentivized to do. It's a combination of all of that.
Prenup is all right. Like
Yeah.
it's signed, lawyer, date, bing,
Yeah.
bing, 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 bing. What is a marriage contract?
So it
Is
can
it a
go one-
verbal
it-
agreement?
no,
Is it a written agreement?
It can be.
You're
either-
saying that the families know each other?
Yeah,
What is that exactly?
It can be. It can be one of three things, right? It can be written between you and this individual, which is the least ideal. The second ideal is you can actually get a mediator or a legal arbiter to actually sign this for you. So therefore, like in the worst case scenario, if you go to court, this is now a legal document, right? So this is a legal document that can be able to be proved in court. But I know a lot of the red pill guys don't like the idea of marriage being controlled by the state.
Mhm.
And if you look at a lot of traditional Eastern societies, marriage is really agreement between families. So to me, I think it's really about the families agreeing to this and the families being aware of expectations on both sides. So therefore, there's family accountability, because what's problem in the West is there's no accountability. Like he's saying, if the wife,
I like the idea of what he's saying. The spirit of what he's saying is good. Where the two people get together and they agree and they say they run everything by run everything by the family, and then the families agree that this is what's expected, this is what's going on, and then the families hold the two people accountable. And I get that. I get that. But you can't make that argument and then still say go sign the legally binding document at the courthouse, as if the legally binding documents at the courthouse are not going to supersede family agreements. Like in some other countries, like that's what the marriage is. It's an agreement between the people, between the families, between the houses, so to speak, to use a Game of Thrones terms. But yeah, that's essentially what it is. But once you put the state in it, all of that goes out the window.
Dude, we agree mostly on all of these things.
Of
You
course.
understand what's going on
Of
here.
course,
When
of
you're
course.
talking about these marriages and business contracts and family,
Yeah.
this is where we agree.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we get into the loss into the romance and the feelings part of it, which feelings do change, right? Your
100%.
feelings
Yeah, I
changed
guess
about
that's what
me
I'm
about
saying.
a minute
People
ago.
change.
People change, and thus
Life
though,
changes, right?
thus though the marriage contract doesn't change with the state. So you have to have those things understood and be in the proper
So
position. Yeah,
okay, so let me just paint a picture here. So I was
Yeah.
married very briefly. Okay,
divorced.
Divorced.
Uh-oh.
But I had a prenup.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
All right.
the entire without
When you ask that question, why couldn't he do that and a prenup? Because he's trying to smooth over a way to tell men to just do it without protecting yourself. I mean, let's put it like this. It's hard to sell the idea of prenup no matter what to women. It's hard to sell that idea. Prenup no matter what. It's hard to sell that. So again, it's a degree of word salad. It's a degree of word salad to try to talk about prenup as if it's good, but it's also a problem. So don't do it. But it should be this other thing that does not give you legally binding protection. But then he says there's this type of agreement that you could get some way, somehow legally notarized or something that may or may not hold up. That's not a prenup, but it is. But it's again, that's why it comes off as kind of a word salad-y, but it's like, and like, see, Coach Greg Adams says, he understands what's going on. He understands what's going on, but it seems like he's talking around it and past it.
throwing myself under the bus here. she needed to expedite the marriage. You know what I'm saying? In order to,
yeah, I got it.
So I said, I got
it.
you, baby. I love you, but you know, you have to sign and date here, and
Yep.
these are the expectations I've had if I do this for you. And it wasn't like a marriage built to last. It was a, you know, I'm here for a good time, not a long time type of situation. You could read between the lines here if you know what I'm saying. Okay,
Got it.
but we're still cool. Shout out to you, Lauren, if you're watching. All good. But better believe that I had a prenup in that situation.
I don't know what kind of arranged green card marriage he was involved in. That sounds weird, but anyway.
So that's when I was in my early 30s. Now I'm in my early 40s. Life's even better. You know, money's good, career's good, still in shape, still what you would call sexual market value peak. All right. Shout out to Rolo, who basically did a whole calculation. I'm in the 0.13% of men. I'm like, okay, my ego's pretty big already. Boom. Now I just got an inflated ego. Thanks, Rolo. Boom. So life's good. But I had a conversation with a girl recently who's what I would say a very high value woman. Let's put it that way. Okay. And we're saying, all right, if we ended up ever together, I would want a prenup. No. I'm not down for a prenup, was what she says. I said, well, I'm glad we're having this conversation right now before this thing gets off the ground a little bit. She's like, no. And she made some very valid points as to why she wouldn't want to sign a prenup. And I'm like, well, granted, I hear you and emotional and all that kind of, you know, like I love what you said about East and West. And I said, yeah, I'm going to need the prenup, baby girl. Like, sorry,
Smart.
like no matter whatever happens. So I'm trying to understand like the prenup, the marriage contract. At the end of the day, you'd be a fool as a successful guy to not establish some type of boundaries, some type of protection to say, hey, look, I hear you. You want to have this Fantasyland Cinderella Snow White vibe go down, right? Beauty and the Beast thing. But like first marriage is almost 50% don't work. Yeah. Second marriage is, I think it's 60 something percent. Third marriage is 75%. Absolutely. So like the more and more you get married, you realize, all right, this whole thing. So I'm understanding the balance between the emotional component, because you're going to have, hey, I love you. I want to be with you forever, or else we wouldn't get married.
Yeah.
But just flip a coin whether this bad boy is going to work out or not. At the same time, I hear what Hafeez is saying is like, everything can't be so robotic and so structured that you can't have any feelings and emotion. Yeah. So I'm trying to kind of grapple this.
Can I add something?
Shout out to Fantastic in the building. He says people pay for that American citizenship, B. Riley. I mean, I don't know the man's exact situation, but it sounded like it was a sort of situation like that. It sounded like it was sort of a situation like that when he was describing whatever his marriage was. It sounds something like that. I can't put my finger on it, but yeah. Nate is saying that's not true. 41% of first marriages fail. See, yeah, that I didn't know. I thought it was 50. I thought it was 50. That's all I've ever heard is 50. That's all. When I looked it up, I saw 50. But all right, cool. I'll send me that. Send me that info.
So this is the thing that experience offers that sometimes experience doesn't. So he talked about experience and, you know, being open-minded to experiences, but a guy who has significant investment experiences has bumped their head as well. Yeah. They wouldn't be called bitter. They would be called experience, right? But in this situation, what people don't know what's behind that curtain when you go into court and the love is lost. And also the agreements aren't being upheld with the marriage contract are piranhas, sharks. They typically come in the form of lawyers, judges, and people in that industry who make a lot of money. With that being said, once you go in that room, I'm one of the only people that have been in those rooms. It's a dark place. We call it the belly of the beast. And until you've been there, you really haven't experienced a marriage. Now, let me just say this. You mentioned the divorce. Hold on for a second.
Courtroom? You haven't been to marriage?
Let me explain why. Let me explain why. You mentioned the 50%, 63%, 70%. But do you know that these don't include the people who have already talked to divorce attorneys? See, many of those 50%, there's an additional percentage of people who haven't even talked to a lawyer, or I'm sorry, that have talked to a lawyer. And they've gone, okay, I'll stay, baby. It's cheaper to keep her. Happy wife, happy life. Yeah. I'll just accept what it is. I'll stay for the kids. I don't want to lose the house. So it's more than 50%.
So
and I
you're saying
people,
tack on a couple extra percentage
we need
points.
to tack on at least 25 extra percent, because there are some people who have revisited it, have visited it, and many people reconciled. So it's bigger than that. And when I add on those percentages, it adds some perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, there is more than 50%. These are 50% who legally got divorced. We're adding on the people who said, oh, shit, I'll just go on to stay.
What we call thinking about it.
Yeah,
divorce.
man, I'll think about it. Or the person brought it up. If you don't do this, I'm divorcing.
Ali, let me get your perspective.
Those are excellent points. Those are excellent points. Everybody who goes down there, everybody who talks to a lawyer, does not mean that they gonna does not mean that they're gonna come out on the other end divorced. A lot of people get divorced and then stay married. Put it like this: they don't go sign the papers, but they get a divorce. They're still legally married on paper, but they technically divorced. They're living divorced, but they under the same roof. Hell, I was technically divorced, but under the same roof for a little bit. I mean, I know there are people who have just said fuck it for the kids. Just stay together, and there I do think that's slightly noble. No, not even slightly. I think that's actually that's a noble thing to do, but it could be a very hard thing to do. It could be a very hard thing to do. I couldn't do it. That's why I fought like hell for custody. But let's talk about the belly of that beast. Like when he said that you haven't truly experienced a marriage till you've been in that courtroom. I don't know if I would exactly go that far, but it's a lot of truth to what he's saying right there. It don't matter what y'all agreed with. It don't matter how much y'all loved each other at the beginning. You find out what she's really about when y'all in there going through that divorce. And it don't matter how you treated her in the marriage. It don't matter who was at fault. It don't matter who did this or who did what. She could have been the one wrong. It does not matter. When her fangs come out, and then the damn lawyers, the arbitrator, the judges, and all of them is on, on her side with it. I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal. And it's like and I remember lead attorney actually made a real good point to somebody. I forgot who he was talking to, but he was saying, I've been around this person, saw him and his wife interacting and everything. Like they look perfect. They're fine. They're fine. They'll be good. You can't predict how she's going to act 10 years from now. You can't predict what she's going to be, what she's going to be doing 10 years from now, how she's going to respond to certain things. You can't predict that. You can't. You can't. So it's like, if we're going to have the discussion, it's like we got to be honest and say that there is, especially for regular guys, there's no way there's no adequate satisfying preparation that you can do to truly 100% protect you. It's a risk. It's a risk. It comes down to this. You want a family. you want a family. A man typically can't have a family unless he's attached to a woman. How bad do you want that? If you want that bad enough to risk that potential bad outcome, then by all means do it. By all means do it. I mean, if you want it that bad, like, but to try to make it seem like in any way, shape, or form that you're not putting your hands and putting your life in the hands of a state or a system that's going to side against you if shit hits the fan. And we know the percentage rates and the percentage chances that it do hit the fan. And we know when it does hit the fan, if it's an 80% chance it'll be her filing. Like, yeah. And like, I see what Nate is saying down there. All things of value involve risk. Yes. So it really comes down to how much do you value it? How much do you value it? And how much do you think that woman is worth it? And then that's where we got to really examine a modern woman. We've accepted she ain't showing up as a virgin. We know. Is she at least showing up? Shout out to Kevin Samuels. She at least showing up fit, feminine, friendly with no kids. Is she at least showing up like that? Then you can make a value judgment. Is it worth it? I want kids. I want a family. She's showed up in a way, at least presented herself in a way to where she's worth it to risk it. But you look at the especially in the Black community, that age range that people get married, that number is going up. I think even for Black women, it's over 30. So a lot of times it's like they showing up over 30, overweight with a couple kids by a couple men. Is that worth you putting it on the line? Is it? So that's what it comes down to. But if we're talking about a family and marriage and state sanctioned, it's like that's what it comes down to. Now, I would like for there to be I only know one person, maybe two, but one for sure, who actually had an adequate, productive. I mean, I did a show with him. He had a state sanctioned marriage. I mean, a non-state sanctioned marriage. He explained it. He broke it down, and it seemed deficient. It seemed deficient because it's one thing to say, oh, I'm gonna get married non-state sanctioned, and then a lot of people to say that the shit that they be on look no different than just the regular baby mama, baby daddyism. So you want something structured. You don't want to just be a baby daddy. You want kids, you want a family, but you don't want to just be a baby daddy. You want to do it the right way. We're doing it the right way entails a lot of shit that's going to put your ass in the damn sling when all is said and done. So let's do it non-state sanctioned. Okay, now I sound now I look like we on some nigga shit. So that's what it comes down to. That's what the choices end up being. But is there a way to have a structured situation, a structured contractual situation, and keep the state out of it? Yeah, I've heard one person explain it adequately. And if that's what has to be done, and if people have to do that in the name of protection, then okay, then do it. But very few people do it effectively. So it just all comes down to, do you want this? How bad do you want it? And is this woman worth risking it? That's what it comes down to. Like that's the honest discussion. Like that's truly the honest discussion. And if you're not having a discussion from that lens right there, then you're not. Then you just doing a bunch of word salad.
Perspective here, because again, you're the anomaly. Yeah, happy marriage, living a good life, and killing it on OnlyFans. Circle back to that little water cooler talk with your ladies. Why are because I think 70% of.
Shout out to Code Still says, or you can marry a woman whose income is close to yours. Yeah, but you got to make sure her income stays close to yours. Okay, y'all both get married. You making 60. Okay, hold on. Wait, no, we do facts and stats here. I got something for you, Code Still. Damn it, where's that? Let me get that off the screen. Even at age 35, married men on average make $70,000. Married men tend to make good money because they have to. And women tend to want to marry you if you make more money. But either way, married men compared to married women, you can see the difference right there. And guess what? It goes up. It goes up. That man tends to make more money at 40. Tends to make $80,000 at $40. I mean, at the age of 40, he tends to make $80,000. He's making more. Then if she's and it gets worse if because there's normally an element of age gap dating. What if she's 10 years younger than him? And I don't have it plug and play ready to go, but you see that single woman down there at 35 making 41,000 at the top of the list. Actually, that single woman making 41,000. If she's 30, that's more like 35,000. So it's not that much. It's not that much of a scenario where a man that a woman looks at as the ideal viable type of husband that she really wants, there's not that many scenarios where he's not making more money than her. There's not that many scenarios where he's not making significantly or comfortably more money than her. Now, yeah, there are marriages where people make, there's a certain level of parity in the money that they make. And yeah, that can work. That can prevent some things. But again, you cannot predict what if you get married at 28, you can't predict what you're going to be making at 42. It's going to be more. You're going to be making more. She's probably going to be making the same. You're going to be making more, and she's probably going to be making close to the same. Which means eventually you will work your way into that situation to where she could have some leverage over you because of you making more. If you're doing what you're supposed to do as a man, providing for your family. I mean, it's like you could potentially get more penalized by doing what they say that you're supposed to be doing. It's not until you get up into and they say Christian Hutchinson sent me some stats showing that the upper class, how the divorce rate is lower once you start, get over like $250,000 a year. Because when people start making that much money, it turned into like a Game of Thrones type marriage. They're putting houses together, to use the Game of Thrones term. They're thinking legacy. They're thinking keeping that money and the wealth and all that in the pipeline and everything. So yeah, there's a certain amount of money where the chances decrease, but overall not really. But no, so that's a hard thing to avoid, Coach, to avoid men making more money when all is said and done. I mean, the stats show that on average men are going to be making more than their wife before it's all said and done.
Marriages are initiated by women. Sorry, divorces are initiated by women, and then it bumps
marriages.
Up to. You were right about the first 100% on marriages,
right,
brother.
Right.
But and I think it bumps up to about 80% when they're college educated. So the more money they're making, the more independence they're feeling, the smarter they are. All right. What are the reasons you think that women are just over their man?
Well, I think there's a lot of too with women get in clusters and they kind of feed each other and it festers, and that's one thing I think about, like my husband and I's dynamics. I've never really talked about any marital problems we've had with other.
I really don't care to hear what she got to say, but it is an interesting thing that she's been married 20 years and she does OnlyFans and she's happily married. They have a wonderful marriage and I think children and the whole works. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they're doing OnlyFans. I don't know if her husband is like the male talent in the OnlyFans videos. I think that may be the case too. I'm not 100% sure. I really don't care what she got to say. I probably skip some of what she saying. No disrespect, but I only care about the Coach Greg Adams and Hafeez interaction because it is going to get a little more intense. But shout out to everybody in the building. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Shout out to everybody who's supporting the stream. Appreciate. Shout out to RS, became a new member to the channel. Became a new channel member. Appreciate all the channel members. It's like 51 of y'all. Appreciate everybody for becoming a member. Too Cool School in the building. He says, we need GC on this one. Salute BR. I don't know where GC is at right now. I haven't seen. At least I don't think I see him in the chat. But no, I probably get him the link. I don't know when I'm gonna wrap this one up either. But yeah, we'll probably get GC the link if he's available. Shout out to Kevin C in the building. He says companies and corporations love married men. It points to stability, being focused on career, family, and working harder to improve quality of life. Yes, no, that is true. That is true. A married man is more likely to get hired, more likely to get a raise and a promotion. They say that if you put it like this, it was something it was a question asked, in your little cubicle workstation or area at your job, should you have pictures of your family up and everything? And they said, if you're a man, yes, that'll help you get a promotion. This man cares about his family. He's working hard. He's grinding for something. He's going to put in those 12 hours a day. He's going to stay late. He's going to get here early. A woman puts pictures of her kids up. They're like, nah, that means she's going to be leaving early. She's going to be coming in late. She's going to be leaving early. She's going to be, potentially having more kids and getting more time off work. It's like for a lot of these companies, women really can be a bad deal. I mean, trying to hire them and having them moving up the ladder when they're getting married. I mean, it kind of could be a bad deal, especially if they plan on having 2 or 3 kids. But anyway, that's a whole nother show, whole nother debate. But let's go ahead. Let's go.
Other people, maybe, a comment to my sister or something, but I don't like discuss our problems the same way he doesn't discuss that, because I think everyone else, has their own, like you said, biases and things that they've been through, and they may come from a different angle and put ideas in your head or your fears in your head.
You're saying misery loves company.
Misery loves
company. So if you're having an issue with your relationship, with your marriage, oh, my man, let me tell you about my man. And then they just kind of.
We should do that. Yeah. And I think I've watched it. It's just incredibly toxic. And I think I look at marriage as a commitment between 2 people. And for me, and so when you speak about the family aspect, I feel like we didn't even have a big wedding because I don't need to share that with anyone else. It's between him and I just found it kind of corny to do so. So for me, I think a lot of women, I don't disagree with there's a lot of women out there dirty, and they will particularly prey on men who are successful I do not dispute that whatsoever. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for a prenup. I think, it could maybe change the tone. But a true woman that absolutely loves you would respect what you've built before you've actually, came together, and would understand if those are protections you need because of whatever you've been through in the past. If you were a woman who was in love with you, you would honor that and sign the prenups.
If I could, I almost want to kind of get a listicle, and I get you don't speak for all women, and either will Natalia, and then I want to turn it over to the men. But if you could put a top 3 reasons why a woman is looking to divorce her man or break up with her man, in your opinion, what would it be? Meaning it could be money, it could be looks, it could be not communicating, it could be infidelity. Based on your experience, what are the top 3 reasons you're seeing women just trying to break up with their man or divorce their man?
I think I'll tell you what I personally think is happening in the marriages, and then I'll tell you the top 3 things. I would say probably working too much.
That the man is working too much?
Yeah, I think a lot of women get, bitter about that if they're having to take on too much, of a role elsewhere. Because a lot of women work now too, right? So it's different. It's not like you can't really complain when you're at home taking care of the kids and being a housewife, like that's your role. But when you're also working and doing that, and it's not a meet in the middle in between there, then obviously.
So it's the man working too much and her working too much?
I would say I've heard complaints, or maybe they're always on business or they travel.
That's what she's saying right there is mostly nonsense, because if both of y'all are working, but if he's working too much, he's working more outside the home, then you got to work more inside the home. And that's what the stats actually play out like that, where married men particularly, they're going to work more hours. I think they're going to average, anywhere, I forgot what it was, like working damn near 5 to 10 more hours per week than the women. Well, men in general work, on average, 5 more hours per week. But I would reckon married men work more. That's why I bumped it up to 10. I don't know the exact stats on how much a married man works, but more than his wife. But typically men work more hours. So even if we go with just 1 more hour per day, if he's doing 5 more hours per week. If he's doing 5 more hours per week, it's probably closer to 10. But if he's doing 5 to 10 more hours per week, then you're getting home earlier. You're going to work later and getting home earlier. So you're probably going to be taking care of more shit at the house. That is what it is. You're probably still working the same amount of hours if you're counting, picking up your kids and doing, what do we call it? Parenting. If you're doing that, and we count those as worked hours, and he's working more hours at the job to make sure that y'all are more stable, to make sure that y'all got a nice roof over your head while you're doing that shit called parenting, then that is what it is. Take it on the chin, suck it up.
Okay. Or obviously, I think there's a distrust. There could be, something there where maybe they have a very active lifestyle outside of the marriage, in which maybe they don't trust their friends or who they're around. Those are some common reasons. I guess that's
number 2, distrust.
Yeah, distrust. Okay. And then I think generally that I personally think not enough marriages do not really prioritize sex. Like I don't think people understand how incredibly important that is. And a lot of women is like, get bitter and want to withhold. And I'm not, And I think that is incredibly toxic, not only for the marriage, not just for him, but for the woman herself. Because I think that's why a lot of marriages, I am almost shocked at these women say they won't have sex for months with their husband. And I'm like, holy cow. Well, it's no wonder your marriages are in
You see
shambles.
Coach saying that's unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I'll just say this: like, other than that one part where she was explaining why other women, file for the divorces. For the most part, everything that she says is pretty much cool. I'll forever and always will think it's weird as hell. People being married and on OnlyFans, but to each his own, is what it is. If they're happy and they married, it is what it is. So she don't say a bunch of okay, it's some things coming down the pipeline. She say that I side eye and nitpick at. But overall, I'm not really tripping on her. I'm not tripping on her that much.
I really do believe that.
It's
and I think
common.
that plays,
it's more common than you know.
Oh,
Okay.
and my husband hears it, would hear it at work. Other guys, like, he was always kind of the guy in the corner, like, they don't have, like, I can always say there's never been a day in my marriage that I did not have sex with my husband. Like
A day?
Literally, unless I was gone away from him, which
Steve,
was really
Steve,
Yeah.
shout out to you, brother.
but it's important. And I think that
That's actually amazing. And I'm just looking at it from sometimes that hell, y'all gonna be busy and fucking just fall asleep. I mean, like not a single day. That's impressive. It's something. I lost count how many times it happened where some sex about to happen. One person get in the shower, they get out the shower, the other person knocked out sleep. Like, damn. It's like, but so not one time. ain't nobody get fell asleep on not once. Like, damn, that's impressive.
That is vastly undervalued.
And you're aware of that as a wife to say, all right, it is my responsibility to make sure my man is fulfilled.
Yes, and I think women also give up. They don't try as hard. They think they don't have to continue to be sexy. A lot of women, and I've been there. I've gone through phases, where I didn't feel sexy. I'd had 2 kids back to back, basically, at one point, and I didn't feel great. I was overweight, and I still made time for that, though. But a lot of women immerse themselves in that lifestyle, and then of just taking care of the kids and just chop, and they totally forget to really like marinate and take care of their marriage.
So working
sexually.
too much. So basically not paying attention, developing a distrust, and then thirdly, sex. So this is coming from a woman who's been married 22 years.
Yeah.
So Nat,
Yes.
you've never been married.
Yes.
You have a lot of suitors.
Yes.
You're a little hottie toddy out there. You're out there.
I'm a little smart.
Okay. Why do you think, like, speaking from a
Terrell Bentley says, what about the 4 or 5 days a month? You don't shut down the whole amusement park just because one of the rides is not working.
a young woman's perspective, I'm not even talking about marriage, but you've had boyfriends, a lot of your girlfriends, your sisters, they've had boyfriends. What are the top 3 reasons they break up with their men?
Well, in the dating, I don't find like money to be too much in dating. Now, when you're married, I know money is definitely one. Attention is another one. And I mean in like all areas, from the bedroom, like going on dates, like attention in all aspects.
So number 1, attention.
Yeah. Yes.
Pay attention to me.
Attention.
Yeah.
I want some quality time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something about that meat right there,
There's
Coach.
meat.
Yeah.
I just said that.
Yeah.
Which is what I was referring to when I was talking about like working too much. Like they're not
Yes.
getting the
Attention.
attention. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm gonna come back. I gotta come back to a point.
Well,
Go
we're
ahead.
coming
Go
back
ahead.
to you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
right
yeah,
after
yeah,
this,
yeah.
100%. So number 1, attention.
Attention. Obviously, if you're married,
No. Not
I know y'all probably want to look at her, but I really don't care what you got to say. I'm skipping it.
waste your time.
okay. And it makes sense. All right, Coach. And then Hafeez, flip it on us, right? Because we established the fact that 70 to 80% of marriages, relationships, the woman initiates a divorce or a breakup. But oftentimes, sometimes a man will initiate a breakup. From your perspective, what are the top 3 reasons men end a relationship with their women?
I would say number 1, lack of respect. So that goes to, like I said, men want to feel loved, but oftentimes,
This is where it's about to get a little intense. Hafeez about to. I think this is the part. Hafeez about to really try to challenge him on some shit.
give her a love, and nobody really not a lot of people focus on men receiving. So if there's a lack of respect, he may pull the trigger on that one if it feels like he's gonna lose, he's not gonna lose his children, right? So that would be reason number one. I would say lack of intimacy. People can say sex, but she can lie there like a Carl's Jr. star, and he can pump her 5 strokes. It don't mean that he got sex from her. He's out, you know what I mean? Most of the prostitution oriented sex is in marriage. But with that being said, if he does get a couple of pity duty sexes out of his wife, doesn't mean he got anything.
So you're saying that there's a difference between sex and intimacy.
Absolutely. Intimacy. I mean, you know, guys are looking for intimacy, and sometimes it's better to pay somebody for some intimacy than to get it from your own wife. A lot of marriages are going on right now because he's paying for intimacy somewhere else. But with that being said, if he's not getting intimacy and respect from his wife, he gonna leave if it doesn't hurt him financially.
Got it. And then third,
I would say
you said respect, sex / intimacy.
Yeah, I would say obviously then the kids. I mean, there's going to be something associated with the kids. If he knows he can keep a relationship with his children, aka she screwed up and he can get up out of there, and he can use that as leverage to make sure he doesn't lose time with his kids, then he'll pull the trigger. Yeah,
got it. Okay, go ahead, Hafeez.
Yeah, I want to take a little differently because there's nothing that I'm going to add to it that Coach Greg Adams hasn't shared. I think I agree with the third one may hit or miss, but here's the nuance I think is lacking in the conversation, especially to the young guys who kind of consume this kind of content. There's always truths in what people say. Like you say a lot of things that are true, but if you end the sentence there, it's not going to benefit people's lives. And so
how does it saying something that's true, how does it not benefit somebody's life if they're told the truth? I'm trying not to nitpick, but it's like if you're saying what you're saying is true, but then you end it right there with the truth, is not going to benefit somebody's life. Well, then what are you then saying? Lie? Bend the truth? What are you saying?
Well, to me, I think one of the fundamental challenges is when you come at things from a perspective of things are going to fail. When you come at things from a perspective as worst case scenario, like, so this is interesting. I won't get too lost in the sauce, but it's interesting TV show where this guy he spent an hour watching the worst events in humanity, the worst murders, the worst rapes, the worst thefts. He saw the worst in humanity for an hour. After watching the worst in humanity for an hour, how do you think he felt about humans, Adam?
Yeah, obviously he was just
probably felt like crap. He probably felt really bad. So what happens so often in the marriage conversation, like I said, it's balance. Too many guys in the comments in this red pill world, they are consumed with the worst case scenario, and there's enough stories like that for days. He can spend.
Is it being consumed with the worst case scenario, or is it giving an analysis that is backed by facts and stats and empirical data? Which one is it? Like he's making it seem like the good outcome is just as likely to happen as the bad outcome, but everybody's just focusing on the bad outcome. Like that's how he's depicting it.
48 hours telling us every single worst case scenario, and he's only touching the tip of the iceberg of all the stories he's heard. There's enough information about the worst case scenario, about marriage, about divorce. Oh, she left me, and there's enough of that in this world. And so my biggest thing is that how does that make society better? Especially, I'm passionate about it, going back to like Black community. The biggest issue that's plaguing the Black community, when I ask Candace Owens on the right, if you can ask Dr. Eric Dice on the left, they'll tell you it's fatherlessness, broken families, not enough husbands and wives coming together, raising families. That's what's these.
Then again, you're barking up the wrong tree. The tree you should be barking up is the people who filed the divorces. That is the tree that you should be barking up. You should be barking up the tree of the people who are willfully saying they're strong, independent, and don't need no man. You be barking up the people that shot up to Little Big Nate, that's connected to I'll say an ideology that comes from the political left or the liberal, the social. I'm not even trying to make this show about I'm not trying to make the show about politics, but we understand the a lot of more modern liberal ideals. We get that. We understand that. We understand that from that side and that angle over there, a family is a family even without that man in it. The BLM goal was to dismantle the nuclear family structure. Like, that's where you're running interference and trying to talk down or speak against the people who are on one side highlighting one problem, and you're basically running interference for the other side that I think is the bigger percentage of what the problem is.
That's what's destroying the Black community. That's what I'm passionate about. And so to me, the biggest thing is how it's simply spending all day, keyword all day, majority of my day, hearing about the worst case scenario about marriage and divorce and alimony and getting screwed over. How is that going to help Black men become better fathers? How is that going to help them become better husbands? How is that going to equip them with the tools needed to build healthy families and to create legacies of change? And so to me, that's one of the biggest reasons why some of the conversation to me is just boring. It's like, yo, like, okay, you have data, and then even some of the data is like 50%.
All right. I understand where you're coming from. I actually do. Well, like I said before, I always say it. More families in the Black community will be definitely a good thing. More families in the Black community will be definitely a good thing. I'll look in the camera. I'll say that 100 times. I will say that 100 times. The reason that what he's pushing is what we would consider a very blue pill narrative, because he's saying, how is that going to make them better? That's to imply that if they were just better, then the modern woman wouldn't be what she is. The modern woman is not what she is because the men are not good enough. The modern woman is what she is simply because she's free and she could do what she want to do when she want to do it. And if she fail, there's safety mechanisms, bailouts that can help her not hit the ground too hard. The whole term "too big to fail" that applies to the modern woman. If she's talented and can make her own money, then she's good. If she can't make her own money, she could be subsidized by the welfare state. If she can't be, if she's not being subsidized by the welfare state and she's not talented enough to make her own money, then she could possibly find a guy that could take care of her. They can't fail. They could essentially do what they want to, even if they're just working in that cubicle making $35K. You know what they say, that men are broke if they make 40, 50K, but they'll somehow live and get by just fine making less. Like, as long as they have that ability to do that, and they would rather do that, they would rather just make their average or slightly above average money or slightly below average money, and then be free and can do what they want when they want, how they want to do it, and not have to answer to nobody. For a lot of modern women, that is a good life. Saying men just be better and then they're going to just go through a metamorphosis and like, no, I don't think that's the solution. It's a solution for a smaller percentage of men. It's a solution for a smaller percentage of men that are particularly good at attracting women. So I get it from that perspective. But if you're talking about the Black community as a whole or society as a whole, the regular woman is not getting with a regular man. Telling that, when I've said, made this point plenty of times, telling that regular man just be better than regular. Okay, great. That individual, that will work. On the large scale, will that work? No, because it's all in the capitalist environment. It's always going to be, always going to be a top 5%, a top 10%, a top 20%, a top 30%, a top 40%, a top 50%. That's not going nowhere. No matter how high the high is, it's always going to be a percentage. And we know that percentage can't get too much high. The percentage of what men make can't get too much higher than what women make, because then that would be a problem. That would be a problem that society would have to correct for, which they did correct for. They already corrected for that. Bras were already burned in the streets trying to correct for that. And they corrected for it. And now women got what they want. They got their freedom to do what they want when they want it. And the result of that is this high single mother rate. They already did it. It's already done. So you're telling men, go back and dive on the grenade telling men go back and be better than the women, but men being significantly better than the women caused a whole movement to bring parity between men and women. They got their parity, and what came with that is they can fuck who they want when they want and get pregnant and have their own family over there without men. So what are you saying for men to do? Go dive back on the grenade, or be better than cause another movement where they got to come down again, and then it'll be more women being single, independent, and free, and getting pregnant and having kids by themselves. Off to the side again, the cycle will repeat itself. So the solution to the problem on a whole is not men as a collective group just be better. That's not the answer to the problem on a large scale. That's an individual. that's an individual solution. If you make 50K, then you get your money up and you go make, 100K, 150K. Now you're living in a different world. You got better options. You're more well traveled. You can get around. You can do this. You can do that. The world is your oyster. You're the man. All right. You can coach individual men on how to be the man, and that individual man will be the man. But overall, on the whole, on a wide scale, nah. Men just do better. Just do better, and these women will go back to the what they gonna do? Go. It's like that's again, that's the epitome of being the blue pill. That's the epitome of being blue pill, to think that the women are just going to go through a metamorphosis if men were just better. There's a lot of better men that are falling into that 80%, 80 women filing 80% of the divorces. It's a lot of better men who are falling into that. There's something culturally and socially wrong with this modern post second wave of feminist women. There's something culturally and socially wrong with them, and then there's laws that enable, aid, and abet them. That's essentially the problem. So saying men just tap dance harder and then everything will be okay, it's like, no, that's not the answer. That's not the answer, Sway. Don Blackwell says Hafeez flipped the script on you niggas. No, he didn't. This is what he always was. Only thing I'll say is that when Kevin Samuels started blowing up, he wanted to get a little bit of that, so he dipped his toe into some red pill shit. But anybody who was watching from the start already knew what it was. Already knew what it was. Fresh and Fit start blowing up. Kevin Samuels start blowing up. So he did some collaborations with Fresh and Fit. He collabed with Kevin Samuels, and then he kind of changed up his shit a little bit. And truthfully, I mean, I'm not trying to, he changed up his shit a little bit. He changed up his shit a little bit. I'll just say that. He changed up his shit a little bit. But then that's like, I guess for him, that wave has gone. That wave came and went. And he's kind of built the brand off of that, because he became, he became like a success guru, which is all right. He became a success guru. He's selling a suit line of some sort, I think. He has some branding or something called, men of the standard, sort of like how Kevin Samuels talking about high value men. He says men of the standard. So he has this thing going like that. And he got married, and he's basically trying to, I guess, coach men back into, hey, let's become successful and get married. That's pretty much his message. That's pretty much his message. And I don't think it was a change up. I think he detoured off his path when red pill content started blowing up, and then he like dipped his toe in it, and now he's going back. That's all that's going on there. That's all that's going on there. Said he's serious about getting papered up. Yeah. I mean, I don't knock that. I don't knock a man doing okay, this is another problem here. I don't mind a man doing self-improvement coaching. I don't mind a man doing self-improvement coaching for men. I don't, that's great. That's absolutely great. But you can do that without shitting on red pill content. but it's like he knows, like it's like I think the problem that he's having is that sometime around the time after Derek Jackson shot himself in the foot and got busted cheating, and Kevin Samuels started blowing up, and red pill content started taking over, manosphere sounding content started taking over, and then he started doing content that kind of looked and presented a little more manospheric. I remember he had some women on his show, and he was giving them like a little bit of Kevin Samuels work, a little bit. He was doing all of that. He was doing all of that for a little bit. And what happened is he got caught up in the, like, I think the red pill manosphere algorithm. But now that he's trying to go back to his roots, so to speak, now he has to compete and contend or hear, people basically, calling him out on shit. So it's like he's doing battle against the red pill. And I'm like, if you want to do men's self-improvement content, do men's self-improvement content, but don't try to tear down a space or aspects of a space that you've already dipped your toe in and got tired of it, but now you want to shit on it. It's like, hold on, bro. It's like that's where it gets fake to me. That's where it gets fake to me. It's one thing to dip your toe in it and then say, nah, this ain't really me. This ain't really it. I see some problems here. I'm not really feeling this. So I'm about to move on. I'm just going to talk about how men can better themselves. Then, God damn it, go talk about how men can better themselves. But there's some men who bettered themselves and they wasn't red pilled up, and they went into the gauntlet. They went into the belly of that beast and they got chewed up and spit out. So no, they need this red pill content. Don't shit on the red pill content. If you're trying to build men up, make them become the standard and they become successful, but they're not fully prepared and got all this information that's getting put out here. They're not getting all the information that's being put out here. It's like they're getting sent to the slaughter. So it's like, nah, just do your self-improvement stuff. Teach men how to become the standard. When you go to shitting on red pill, and he's in Coach Greg Adams sitting right next to him, about to start taking shots at what Coach Greg Adams do. It's like, nah, it's like that ain't it. That ain't it.
Percent of marriages end in divorce is like, have we not looked up some of the most recent data? It's just like everything is biased, but it's biased to not lead to long-term success. And if we're honest about long-term success, a lot of this information is not it.
I got a question for you. Do you have car insurance?
100%. I know where you're
All right.
going.
Do you have homeowners insurance?
100%.
Do you have life insurance?
100%.
Do you have medical insurance?
100%.
Did you get tired of your insurance agent talking about the possibilities of you losing your life and being rewarded? Hold on for a second.
Yes,
I know, but don't be a but person. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. You have insurances, although it's a very uncomfortable situation, and life insurance people who sell it tend to be scumbags. They tend to be looked at as scumbags. Like, I don't want to have this conversation about me dying, but you surely will die. So you better have the conversation. The reality is, yes, it's a very tough conversation. I have to spend a lot of time talking about it. It's very difficult. However, there needs to be some insurance, and there's no insurance, and so we must talk about it.
Well, I don't want to put words in Hafeez's mouth. I'm gonna let you answer this, but
now, don't like what the moderator is doing right here. If Hafeez could have responded directly, you didn't have to massage anything right there. So I don't like what the moderator is doing. Should have let Hafeez respond directly.
Here's how I'm interpreting this, and believe me, I've made millions of dollars. Ironically, the insurance world, all right. Yes. So I'm good.
We love insurance over here.
Exactly. Ironically, I don't even sell insurance. I buy insurance off of people because they're sick of paying for their insurance. That's another conversation.
Because many times, they don't get anything from the insurance that they pay, right? But I don't want to put you out of business. No, I love insurance over here.
Life's good. You're not going to change anything.
Exactly.
But here's my point, and this is kind of Hafeez's point: is you're talking about you're going to die, you're getting in a car accident, your house is going to flood, you're going to flood, and he's like, stop talking about the negative shit. What Hafeez is saying, and I'll let you kind of go from here, is, well, let's talk about what happens if that doesn't happen. Let's hear some positive stories. Let's hear about the lovely home we're going to build, the amazing car we're going to drive in, the fact that my house isn't going to get blown away in a hurricane. And I understand what you're saying is like, yeah, brother, you can have the most beautiful house, you can have the most beautiful car, you can have the most beautiful life, but you do need some protection.
Just be fair.
So it's almost like a both. You need both.
But just to be fair, when two people enter into that agreement, that's what they talk about. They don't sit together talking about, hey, when we get divorced, and they sit to talk about those things. So the conversation is being had, but it's almost between those two people. But when divorce happens, it happens in the court of public opinion, and it happens in the public court.
Yeah. So you asked me a question. That's why I was responding, because you asked me. I was going to respond to the question, but it is what it is. So remember, this is how you know, Adam. This is a true test. Ali, the top. If you want a true test to how someone views the world, see how balanced they are, right? So, like, let's see somebody politically. The best people politically are people like Adam. They can go hard on the right and go hard on the left. They can see the good in the right. They can see the good in the left. They have a balanced perspective of both sides. When someone's only going hard here 24/7, you notice a little bit of offness. Like when my biggest thing is, I said balance. I didn't say far west emotional. I didn't say far east logical. I said balance.
Correct.
My point is that if you're trying to tell somebody about buying a house, use a house example. Let's stay with the house example.
All right. Before you get into the house example, the whole balance argument, that's a deflection. It's a deflection for this reason. You know, I'm pretty damn good at being objective. A straw man argument is building up a fake representation of what your opponent is actually saying and then refuting an argument that they never made because you bastardized their argument. I'm pretty damn good at steel manning somebody's argument, where I will repeat somebody's argument to their satisfaction. I will make sure that I accurately represent their argument exactly how they would say it if they would make it, and then I will try then go forward and refute the best version of their argument. That's balance and objective right there. The type of balance that he's calling for is the type of disingenuous balance where you're basically saying you're basically saying that, oh, well, there's two sides over there. There's left and there's right. I think everybody understand that there is two sides of it, but where do you lean? Okay, if it's a truth on both sides, which side do you think is more right? Which side do you think is more correct? And what's your position? It's about establishing what is your position on this topic. Once you establish what your position is, then you argue your position. You don't just hop the fence and argue both sides just for the fuck of it. So it's like that's why whenever somebody was saying that we need balance, what they're really doing from my perspective is they're telling the other side to shut up and or include this other information. Where when the reality is that side that you're saying is not balanced, yeah, they're refuting that other information that you saying they need to include. So you can't say that other information isn't a part of the discussion when the information that you're saying that somebody needs to be balanced on, they're actually building their platform, refuting that other side of the argument. But you're just trying to shovel in balance, be balanced. What you're saying is you're either saying don't take a position, or you're saying I don't like the position that you're taking. I'm trying to run interference or deflect you away from making that statement. That's essentially what that is. Yes, it's truth on both sides. Yes, there's good points on the other side, but I think it's better points on this side, and that's where I'm going to argue, where I think it's better points at. JC the Conqueror in the building says, I got to unsubscribe from them. See Iron Attic in the building says, salute BR and family. Absolutely salute to everybody supporting the stream. Appreciate each and every one of you. And while I'm at it, let me see. Just double checking real quick, because I always forget to shout out people who Cash App. I don't know if anybody sent one, but I'm gonna do a quick Cash App check. Probably. Let's see. Nope, I don't think nobody. No, nobody. Well, shout out to William Stryker and Joe Ethereum from yesterday. Shout out to y'all, appreciate that. But all right, back to it, back at it. I had to remind myself to check, because I always forget the cash apps. I always forget to check the cash apps. So I shout out and read every super chat, but I always forget the cash apps. Well, I don't always. I sometimes forget the cash apps. But I'm on it. But yeah, the balance argument is not that's real. Like, put it like this. Let me I hate to give this example. People watch my show know what I'm talking about. OGJ Speed claims that he came here to bring balance. Fatty came to my platform. Y'all know who Fatty is. He be on the Anton Dane. Shout out to Anton. He be on the Fight Club. I'm just trying to bring balance. I can't do his accent, but he's like, I'm just, those are the people. Those are the balanced people. But are they really balanced, or do they swing hard for one side? So they're really not balanced. They're just trying to they're trying to knock down your argument and trying to figure out a way to massage it and make you okay with them trying to refute your shit or tear down your shit that you've built up. That's essentially what they're trying to do. You made an argument refuting their position, then they come in and they try to refute your position, and they try to claim that their position is balanced in the middle and your position is far over to the extreme. No, if he's an extreme, you're an extreme. I mean, that's literally how it is. If one person thinks that that left is correct and the other person thinks that right is correct, they're in opposition. You're not the balance. You're in opposition.
Logical. I said balance.
Correct.
My point is that if you're trying to tell somebody about buying a house, use a house example. Let's stay with the house example. If you're going to sell somebody a house, because human beings need houses. Mm-hmm. Of course, you're going to add insurance to it. But this is how you're not going to sell a house. Let me show you this beautiful house. Do you know if your house burns down and you're inside of it, you're going to die? Do you know that there's all these electricity problems? You know, when a hurricane comes, your house is going to fall down.
Yeah, you lose your commission if you sell it like that.
And if I'm trying to sell something to you.
Here's the difference. Coach Greg Adams is not a marriage salesman. Apparently, Hafeez is. So what Hafeez is saying is that this is no way to sell marriage. With no shit. Coach Greg Adams is not a marriage salesman. He's a information salesman. He gives you information. In this scenario, if I had to try to land the plane with the analogy, Coach Greg Adams would be a home insurance salesman, and Hafeez would be a house salesman. The house salesman who's selling a house that has some problems in it don't want his potential buyer talking to the insurance guy saying that I don't feel comfortable, insuring you for this house with a goddamn hole in the ceiling. It's projected to rain tomorrow. It's going to be a lot of water damage. And then Hafeez is saying, no, we can't sell a house with you saying that. Stop it, insurance salesman, stop it. You're fucking up my ability to sell this shitty house. Like, that's what's happening right there.
Do you know that there's all these electricity problems? You know, when a hurricane comes, your house is going to fall down.
Yeah, you lose your commission if you sell it like that.
And if I'm trying to sell something to you and telling you every worst case scenario, hey Adam, come drive this Lamborghini. Do you know that Lamborghinis you can get in a crash, you can die? Do you know if you drive this certain speed, you're gonna It's not either or, because this is what it blows my mind. I know how nihilistic these guys on the internet are, because they can't even tell the nuance. It's not either or, it's both.
Yeah.
I want you, please sit down with Coach and hear about the worst case scenario. Hear about how
he's not giving the worst case scenario. He gives probable information and empirical data and possibility. Is it possible that somebody could find a woman that's so awesome and they just love her and she's so great and she's treating them right to where, hey, it's worth it to risk it with her? Is it possible somebody could do that? Yes. Does that make Coach Greg Adams' information incorrect? No. It's like, so, I mean, I from that perspective, I get what he's saying, but don't depict it as he's just telling worst case scenario. No, he's talking about data and probability. He's talking about data and probability. I'm not going to argue a man and say, "Hey, I met a chick that I think I can start a family with." I'm not. That's wonderful. Go ahead and do it. Don't argue with him preparing this man for what he's up against in that situation. Like, you don't have to argue with it. Like, you could just step aside and let Coach Greg Adams rock and do what he's doing. The reason he has to fight against what Coach Greg Adams doing, going back to what I said before, when all this manosphere red pill type of content start blowing up, he dipped his toe in it. He got caught up in the manosphere algorithm. Now he's trying to jump back over the fence to what he was doing before, and now he can't. He's feeling some pressure about it. Guys are calling him a simp, calling him blue pill, calling him this, calling him that, and now he got to go to war against that. It's like you probably should have stayed more consistent with what you started doing. You jumped into some new territory, and now you having some issues. You having some issues now. Got to go to war against the red pill. I remember when he was, with Derek Jackson, Stephon Labossiere, and all of them. Then he made some rounds with Fresh and Fit and Kevin Samuels. Now he's trying to jump back over. Go ahead and jump back over there, but exercise the block button or something. But it is what it is.
Protect yourself. Hear about the insurance. I want you to have that. But if all you're doing is watching him, I'm telling you, you're going to be deceived, because all you're going to be consumed about is the worst case scenario and the big bag boogeyman, aka the state, aka your woman, screwing you over. Mm-hmm. You got to hear the balance. You got to hear the best of stories. I remember Patrick Bet-David, shout out to PBD, said, I would love to hear do a debate. On one end, people who've been married, happily married for 40 years, a beautiful marriage, and then the guy who's been in the worst divorce in human history. And then let the people hear both of the stories. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm talking about. There's also good. There's also good that happens. There's horrible, but there's good. We need to share both stories. And my biggest problem is when we spend all day long, most of our time, because there's a profit model in it. And I shared to my guys in the Standard the profit model in it. CNN doesn't share anything positive about Donald Trump. Why? Because you don't make money that way. If I'm doing content on internet, I don't.
Because they disagree with Donald Trump. They don't damn. It's not about that they don't make a profit that way. I mean, Fox News makes a profit that way because they agree with Donald Trump. They present that side of the argument. I'm sorry, I paused him at that face. They present that side of the argument. And if that's the argument if that's what you think makes the most sense, then argue your point. Your point is either right or wrong, but don't tell that person they need to present the balance. No, if you're the other side of the argument, make a better argument and refute their argument. Debunk their ass. Defeat them in the debate, but don't beg them to argue on your behalf on your side of the argument. No. If you disagree, debunk it. Defeat it.
I don't make money talking about healthy marriages. Who wants to watch that crap? Know how to make money? Crazy, delusional women screwing men of their money. Mm-hmm. Clicks, views, CPM through the roof.
And I think that right there is sort of the thing. Like, he's kind of telling on himself right there. He wants to talk more about healthy marriages, and I respect that. There's a delusional way to talk about healthy marriages, and that's why I respect what Donovan Sharp is doing with his. He's in the process of rebranding his channel. How to relationship. I think that's the name of his channel now. And I watched some of the videos, and he's basically talking about how to be in a relationship and still keep your nuts. he's talking about how to do that. Like so Donovan Sharp is still getting views talking about a healthy relationship. He's trying to talk about healthy blue pill type of relationships. He's basically trying to talk about some blue pill or purple pill, or I don't even use purple pill. I'm sorry, I don't even know what that is. Sorry. He's trying to talk about he's basically mad because what he truly in his heart wants to sell probably doesn't sell as much in the algorithm that he's in now. That's kind of what it sounds like. So he wants to, I can respect him if he's making a better argument. That's fine. Go ahead and take your jab at it. If Coach Greg Adams is saying something you disagree with, Go ahead and explain why you disagree with it. That calling for balance, that's not it. My position is this. If your position is that, make a better argument. I'll never ask somebody that I disagree with to argue more on my position. You don't. That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
Know how it works. I can show you for days. I can pull up my analytics. I know how all this stuff works. And so my biggest thing is that if we're going to have a conversation, we need to have a holistic conversation for the benefit of men. If we are saying that
how is Coach Greg Adams not having a conversation for the benefit of men? The conversation that you're having, that you're trying to slow walk everybody into, is a conversation that would probably be more for the benefit of women if men just fell on the sword, dived on the grenade, and just went and just willy-nilly just start wifing chicks up. Well, I'm sure he would say, he don't say just willy-nilly start wifing chicks up, because he would say you got to be prepared, you got to understand this, and you got to understand all the facts. And I agree with what Coach Greg Adams said, and I agree that it's some difficulty in it. He said earlier in the show that, yeah, men lose all the time. When everything men do, they lose, and they lose big. And marriage is one of those things that when you lose, you're going to lose big. So understand everything that Coach Greg Adams is saying. He's right, but do it anyway. Like that's essentially the argument. Is like he can't refute anything that Coach Greg Adams is saying, but he's basically saying, it's almost like he's saying, you're right, do it anyway. Coach Greg Adams is right still. Yeah, do it anyway.
What's wrong in society is too many men being raised without their father. I want every man, even the nihilistic red pill dudes in the comments, I want every single man to have an ability to raise his son in his home. That's how I was raised. That's why I was made the man I am today. I had an amazing father who was able to raise me in his home. I want every man to raise his son in his home. And I want to give you every.
I want that too. But I think you're barking up the wrong tree. The individual man on the ground trying to live life is not the one who created the laws. He's not the one who changed aspects of the culture. He's not the one that did that. The average Joe guy on the ground is probably one of the 1 in 3 men under 30 who reported no sex in the last year. Like that's the average Joe man on the ground. I mean, you're barking at them because you want them to be able to do that. I mean, they're not the ones filing the divorce. There's a lot of data and information out there to show that when you really take away all the fluff and the feathers, women truly don't want marriage like in the way that they claim to do, or they want it, but shout out to Hood Conservative. He would say that it's not a marriage. They want a marriage, but they want it if it's, well, this is a marriage, but they want it if it's a really good deal, if it's a really good financial deal. But short of that, they really don't want a marriage until, later in life when the clock is ticking. And is that really a marriage if she's showing up with kids by somebody else? She's showing up with kids by somebody else, 35 years old, overweight with, kids by somebody else. I mean, are we really truly talking about a marriage at that point? So, I mean, it's like the wrong tree is being barked up. There's no shortage of even with all this red pill content out there, there's still no shortage of men in their late 20s or early 30s who wouldn't wife up who would men in their late 20s or early 30s would definitely wipe up a 22 to 24-year-old fit, feminine friendly chick with no kids. They would definitely wipe her up. They would take that risk. They would go to that slaughter that they're trying to be sent to. They would take that risk. There's no shortage of guys who would do that. They would still do that. The deal is not the same deal. Yesterday's price is not today's price, as Fat Joe. I think it was Fat Joe that said that. So yeah. Shout out to Black Merlin in the building. He says we can all agree there is balance in life itself. However, in life, either you pick a side or a side will be picked for you. Facts. If you're new here, subscribe. Let's go.
every tool possible to be able to have a healthy marriage, to be able to be a father who's present. And so my biggest thing is all we're talking about what's wrong, especially in the Black community, all that's going to lead to is more single moms, more broken homes, and more of the same BS that's going on today. And to me, I'm sick of it. I want to move forward in society.
So is that essentially your biggest problem with the red pill community, is that it's all negative, it's all insurance, it's all what could happen bad,
and they have to be real. There's an incentive structure for it. I shared some of these people these numbers. I'm gonna share some of these numbers with you. I did a video because it's so funny, because the red pill community, those kind of guys, they're so fickle. And they love you when you bash women, but the moment you share any objectivity, showing the both sides, now all of a sudden they're demonizing you, right? So it's very interesting that I do videos that are critical of modern men and modern women. I try to be as balanced as possible. I know for a fact my content will be weak if it's imbalanced. So I like to do as balanced as possible. I did a video a couple months ago called the why women today are not marriageable. I did that video talking about some of the principles that I believe are true, why women have issues, and we can go on that for days. That video did over 500,000 views in 2 weeks. I did another video called The Sad Reality of Beautiful Women, talking about how sometimes attractive women have an air of entitlement about themselves that makes them difficult in relationship. Another video, 500,000 views. The reality of the matter is, in that month alone, I told the guys in the Standard, I'm just being transparent and honest. With those two videos, and then Candace Owens coming on the podcast talking about the problems of modern women, we made $55,000 that month. $55,000 just doing a few videos. And I know almost everybody in the space, and everyone shows me their money. And I was making the least of what everybody else is making. But when I do the other content, Adam, the more balanced content, there's not clicks in it. There's not views in it.
What type of content?
Like let's say if I was do a video about, hey guys, here are signs, like let's say the 5 things to pick in a wife. Those kind of guys.
Okay. Congratulations. You built an audience. When Kevin Samuels blew up, you dipped it. I said this before. When Kevin Samuels started blowing up, Fresh and Fit started blowing up, you start collaborating with them. You collaborated with AMS. You dipped your toe into the red pill community and grew your red pill audience. Now, I don't think that the red pill, is the devil. I don't think Kevin Samuels, Fresh and Fit, and AMS is the devil. But once you start collaborating with them, your audience didn't hop over with them, or maybe they hopped over with them and got more convinced by them. And some of their audience hopped over with you, and now they're but put it like this: you're getting more views when you criticize women because you got in with the red pill, you grew your audience up, like that. You grew a red pill sector of your audience. You got in the manosphere algorithm because you dipped your toe in it because you saw the shit was popular, and then now you're trying to hop back over the fence to your roots and what you really want to talk about. And you built listen, that's truly a you problem if you built an audience that does not like to listen to the type of content. Oh, damn. Okay, you said BR with his freeze frame like no other. Okay, I'm not doing that on purpose to him. I'm really not doing that on purpose to him. And I hate when I push pause on myself and I be making a face. I mean, my faces don't be that. My faces, it'd be like a different type of face. I mean, that's what I'm seeing here. And I'm really trying not to hearken, on this point too hard. I'm really trying not to, because but he sounds like, okay, he sounds like somebody who's complaining that he has a red pill audience now. That's what he sounds like. No, I want to go back and talk about some other shit. Why don't y'all like this other shit that I used to talk about when I was, with Derek Jackson and them, it's like, no, it's like, that's not, it kind of is what it is. It kind of is what it is. If you basically just got to take the hit. I mean, there's no other way around it. That's what I say. If you're not making as much money talking about the stuff that you truly feel passionate about talking about, then you got to put out that content. You're going to lose some of your audience, and then just accept that loss, and then build up your new audience based off what you want to talk about. But you can't grow an audience from one sector, and now I have that audience, and now I'm in this algorithm. I'm in the manosphere, I'm in a red pill algorithm, and they don't like the more blue pill, well, balanced, as you say, but I guess more blue pillish sounding stuff. They don't like that. They're not feeling that. Then okay, you're in the wrong algorithm. You're wrong algorithm. Do your work to get out of it. But complaining about these men hate balance. They don't want to hear about a healthy marriage. Men don't want to hear blue pill simpish pandering stuff about a healthy marriage. They don't want to hear that. Men do like listening to relationship content. If we're talking about a relationship where the man is in the lead and the woman is submissive and doing what the hell he say when he say it, we like that kind of content. We listen to that shit. Shout out to Hoop Jargon in the building, says #soft. Shout out to Jackie Jack, says his channel is in the wrong algorithm. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing here. Bill Stryker says possibility versus probability. Hafeez speaks for what could be, and CGA tell you how to deal with what is. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody who's supporting the stream.
Guys don't want to hear that. They want to hear 5 things wrong with women today. Yeah. That's what they want to hear. They want to hear more of the negative stuff. They want it reinforced, like CNN. Like CNN does not want to hear 5 things great about Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Hell no. CNN don't want to hear that. Give me 5 things wrong with Trump. And so to me, when you're doing balanced content, even when you're doing male improvement stuff, because I think there's a difference between real male improvement, because it has to improve the lives of men. Fitness, emotional health, spiritual growth. When you're doing that don't get views. And views in my comments would always talk about this, that dang, the girl stuff gets 10x the views of the male improvement stuff. And also when Fresh and Fit will tell you the same thing when they do their finance stuff. They've always told me, I don't know if things have changed. They've told me when they do finance, dudes don't watch that, but they want to watch the girl stuff, right?
Well, and look at the girls.
I hate when people make that argument. They grew their channel talking about relationships. They grew their channel talking about dating and mating and hooking up with women and the overall social dynamics between men and modern women. That's what they grew their channel based on. That's their audience. I think it's actually noble of them, now that they got an audience there full of men. I think they're closing in on 1 million subs if they haven't hit it already. I'm going to try to give them some financial information as well. I'm trying to give them some investment information, some home buying, real estate, flipping property. They do all kind of stuff like that. They had the Kiyosaki guy, the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy on there. They had Grant Cardone on there. They're trying to give men extra information, but they know what they built their channel on. There's channels that there's plenty of finance channels out there. They have millions of subscribers and they built their channel on that, and that's what they do. I tend to believe they would lose views. That the channels that's built on finances and business, and some of them out there with millions of views, millions of subs, if they did a girls show, they would lose subscribers. We'd be like, what the fuck is this? We can go to Fresh and Fit for this shit. Or it probably would get some views, but maybe not as much as the finance stuff. So you're a successful YouTuber, more successful than me, obviously. He's talking about people, making $55,000 in a month. The people that he talked to, they make more than him. Like, people out here getting paid on YouTube. So I'm not going. I hesitate in criticizing somebody, but the disingenuous nature of that, to pretend to not understand that if somebody builds a channel on a particular theme, if you do something that's against that particular theme, the audience is not going to like it. It's like he wants to rebrand back to what he was, or rebrand to something else. And hey, rebrands are hard if you completely flipping the whole switch. But I don't really think he flipped that much. I think he just dipped his toe in it and then probably got a lot of traction. He dipped his toe into the red pill, got a lot of traction. Now he's trying to go back. By all means, go back. But everybody not gonna feel it. So if you want to fight that fight, fight that fight. By all means, fight that fight. Oh yeah, YouTubers get paid. YouTubers get paid. Wow, 55K a month just for YouTube content. Oh yeah. YouTubers get paid. Don't ever get that. Don't get that twisted. Don't get that twisted. I mean, you see them channels that got hundreds of thousands of subs. Every video they drop, it get close to 100,000 views. Yeah, no, that's where the money at. Hey, I'm not trying to get too deep into that. I'm trying to get I'm trying to get in that upload game. Live streaming is a cheat code because you can make a lot of money on the live. You can have 5,000 subs in certain algorithms, like the Black Manosphere algorithm. I mean, it was when I had 5,000 subs, I had like a lot of the same views, and you could make a few hundred. And like I ain't trying to talk. I ain't trying to turn this to a money discussion about YouTube. But no, you can. If you live stream properly and got a good, devoted, committed audience, yeah, you can go live and make a few $100s a day, and you got 6,000 subs. You could do that. Like you could do that if you got the right audience. In order to make a few hundred a day, doing uploads, you got to have somewhere in the area of 100,000 subs and get like 50,000, 40 to 50,000 views per video. That's hard to do, but a lot of people can get 6,000 subs and have a popping ass live show. So that's one of the difference. Sir Tyson, the building, says, "Man, y'all hate football. LOL for the church." Yeah, I thought about that too. I'm doing a live stream. Yeah, JC, I'm gonna get that upload game going for real. It's already going. It's already going. I got a short that I did. That thing got like 20,000. No, like that thing probably had like 30,000 views right now. That thing probably had like 30,000 views, and I'm picking up more subs. I ain't trying to stop the show to talk to y'all about this, but yeah, I got shit going on. I'm looking at the views right now. I'm looking at my analytics right now. Yeah, it's looking good. Subs coming in like crazy. And I don't even know how many total views this that short I did on 50 Cent got. I know whatever y'all see when y'all look at it, that's not going to be accurate because it's picking up like 1,000 views per hour. It's picking up 1,000 views per hour. Like, yeah, YouTube pays. I'm trying to find the shit. I'm trying to see how many views that thing got. Man, y'all done threw me off big time. Y'all done threw me off the show. All right, hold on real quick. Let me see how many views this bad boy got. This bad boy got 26,000 views. A quick little short I made. Shorts don't make money, but they pick up a whole hell of a lot of subscribers. That's why people be growing their channels. And then when you grow the channels, get all them subs, then you can do them uploads. But anyway, that's enough teaching YouTube. Shout out to Edward Anderson in the building. Edward Anderson says, this dude is so blue pill that he's blue pill when it comes to even how YouTube works, even though he's supposed to be on the other side of that. Yeah, that's why I was hesitant to criticize the man. Because I know he understands YouTube. I know he understands it better than me. But that's where somebody is making what I assess to be a disingenuous argument when he's not. It's like if you're talking about people who signed up to, if put it like this, somebody subscribed to a YouTube, somebody who gives marital advice, okay, and there's a lot of successful YouTubers that give marriage advice, okay. If somebody is married and they sign up for that, they're going to be disappointed if that person that they signed up for to give marriage advice starts talking about how to use game to get pussy. It's like they like that ain't what the fuck I signed up for. So I mean, so to pretend to not understand that And to think that he could flip from giving red pill sounding content to giving content that contradicts or fights against red pill content. It's like you're fighting against your previous videos, damn near. So but that's where he brings out that word balance. But I say, what's correct? What is the correct information? If it's some truth on both sides, okay, what makes the most sense? There's some things about there's some things that liberals say that I'm liberal. Some things I'm liberal on. There's some things I'm conservative on. But when I look at the totality of everything, I'm more conservative. I'm more conservative than liberal. So where do you lean more? Where do you lean more? Which side makes the most sense? But all right, let's go.
But they have the Fresh and Fit, you know, I've talked with them and I told them I would love to do a one-on-one, but I'm definitely the exception rule, so I'm not great for that. But they bring girls on there that are very
I don't want to make it about Fresh and Fit because nothing but respect. I don't like to criticize anybody who's not in the room. I was just bringing them up about the point of they told me when they do finance, the other guys don't watch them. So my thing is that's
noble of him to not want to make it about criticizing Fresh and Fit, but I mean, you're taking shots at red pill in general, which means you are taking shots at Fresh and Fit. You're trying to kick legs out from under the chair, and you're trying to kick legs out from under the table that they sit at, basically. So I mean, whether you're doing it by name or you're doing it by ideology, perspective, or YouTube content, you're still taking shots at it by saying these insecure red pill guys, or they're real fickle, or they're this, or they're not balanced, or they give a biased view, or they do this. You're doing the same thing either way, even though it's noble to cut her off because she was about to criticize their show. It's noble, but it's slightly fake too. It's like, well, I don't even know if fake is the right word. It just you're shitting on their ideals and concepts. So you really just need to stand in that, just stand in it.
There's not a financial
just stand in. I disagree with them niggas. Just go ahead and say that. I mean, it is what it is.
Incentive. So if you're a content creator, Adam, and I'll give you an example, and if you do this type of content, you're making $50,000 a month. You do the other, you make $6,000. Which one are you going to lean towards?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So as a content.
No, Sir Tice. Jackie Jack is not a sports fan. She just got a thing for Allen Iverson. I don't even know what y'all talking about. I don't even know what y'all talking about. Oh, hold on. Robert H. I'm a Falcons fan, so I kind of no. She's not. No, she's not. She's a goddamn lie. She is trying to. No. I don't let girls get away with pretending to be sports fans. I don't. I guarantee that they're a sports fan in the sense that if it's an athlete on a team that they think is cute.
Creator who like I this is our first time we're meeting in person.
Sure.
But you strike me as a person who's just telling it like it is based on your life experience. Okay. You don't seem like the type of person who's like, well, I could say this for clicks, but this does better. Right. But there must be a little bit of element in that. Maybe how you do thumbnails or titles.
Absolutely.
So Hafeez is speaking very impassionately.
Everybody knows how to play the game and make a nice thumbnail, a nice title, and draw people in. But I don't think you can be successful at this unless you truly believe the words that are coming out of your mouth, especially if you're talking to men. Now, Derek Jackson cannot believe the words that's coming out of his mouth, and he could be successful. He's pandering and gaslighting. He's doing his thing like that with women, but men will criticize you. My chat room will turn on me if I say some shit that don't make sense. Like, there's times I've brought guests up here and I've talked to them and I gave them a fair interview. They said some things that I didn't necessarily have a problem with, but my audience ain't let that shit slide. Two men can't have a conversation and it be bullshit, especially in a more red pill space where somebody could smuggle out some bullshit try to smuggle some bullshit under the table and then not get called out. So that's the problem with trying to say that, oh, it's a money incentive in doing this. There's a money, they're doing that for money. No, I think for the most part, the people that are successful at this, they are genuinely, truly saying what they actually believe to be true. And if you don't believe that is true, then make an argument to refute it instead of begging for balance, begging for them to argue on your behalf, on your side that you're, hopping over to.
It's a very valid point.
That's what he's talking about is absolutely true. But what we have to understand is when you're doing content, you have to kind of pick a lane in the genre. I mean, if you go to OnlyFans and you start wearing a mother gown, you ain't gonna get no click.
Hey, there's a market. There's a market for everything.
There's a market for it. But you know what? I know
Yeah.
there's a market for it, but I don't see you doing that tomorrow. But the reality is this: I have 12 YouTube channels. All right, and not all of them are this content, and it is true. Those channels struggle if I'm doing something else, but that's the reality of the situation. It would be like. I love the example that he gave. You wouldn't sell a house like this. Of course, no wise salesman would give you the negatives. Yeah. They would tell you something in order to make the commission. So in essence, he's shooting himself in the foot. But on my side, I have to keep a lane and make sure people understand what that is. Of course, if I crossed over and I brought balance, sure, it might fall flat on my audience because they may not be interested in that. However, I'm going to say this and I'm going to add this. Many times, if I brought on a female content creator and sat down and had an interview in a one-on-one, most of the conversation, if we did bring the balance, will start leaning over to her. And people know this. They watch television. They see movies and stuff like that. Every 1 point that they would make towards a man to get him to pay attention, they'd have to make 5 or 10 points for the woman. So it's kind of like, hey, CGA, you raining down on their head over here today. And then they would tell me to back off. All right, come on, man. We can't let them feel a certain way. And that's kind of just how it works. So I have to stay in that lane and be honest to my approach. The minute I bring it over to the other side, then the other side's going to lean. And I'll just add this. If I really wanted to make money, I'll be out here praising the woman. I'll be out here uplifting the woman. I'll be a millionaire.
I think it goes back to
facts. Facts. Oh, and by the way, when Hafeez was, clicked up with Derek Jackson and Stefan Labossiere, I don't think I could find a video of him begging them to be balanced. I don't think we can find a video of him begging Derek Jackson and Stefan Labossiere to be balanced. Interesting.
Honestly, personal accountability too, though. People consume. If you're going to sit there and consume the same content, that's
their thing.
Personal accountability. I consume content that I generally align with, but I'm also very wise enough to know I should also consume content that counteracts with what I believe, because otherwise, then you never learn. And I don't think there's anything wrong with staying, like you said, in your lane. You got your niche, and that's kind of where you
choices. Go. And one more thing: if people wanted to watch finance, if I came on and I do some finance related videos. But I don't have a finance degree. I'm just offering advice. If people want that, there's how many billions of YouTube channels out there? They can find somebody else for that. And that's probably why my finance video won't get clicks. They know my lane and they'll want to hear this information.
Again, big facts from Coach Greg Adams. There's lots and lots of finance videos out there. They can go and get finance whenever somebody comes to somebody's YouTube channel. When that person's YouTube channel is about what his YouTube channel is about, and they say, "Why are you talking about this? You need to talk about this." They're basically saying that they're essentially trying to kick the legs out from under the table of your channel. They're trying to fuck up your shit. Talk about this other thing that I want to talk about, because I want the stuff that I talk about, the thing that I'm a supposed so-called expert in, or just have a personal proclivity to, or whatever the fuck. I want that stuff to be the main thing in the algorithm. So I want y'all to stop. I want y'all to stop talking about what y'all talking about. I want y'all to stop doing what y'all doing. I want to change what your channel is about, so this type of stuff that I like to talk about is more prevalent. That way I can make more money. like, come on. Like, that's, yeah.
People need to make sure they're having accountability.
Well, I to circle back to what he says, I love how passionate you are, bro. Life is all about balance. Okay. If you're living in echo chambers or
Shout out to Sir Tyson ability. He says, I never liked or trusted this dude. For me, it wasn't a matter of like or trust. I mean, he was over there, he was doing him and his him and the homeboy, you know, at the Roommates podcast. They was interviewing a lot of different people. They did some nice interviews and some nice content. But when he stepped out there into, I guess, the life coaching realm or whatever, and you know, yeah, that's where, you know, he took a chance, he took a risk and tried to get in a different lane. But that's where, you know, it seemed like he was trying to find himself. He was trying to reinvent himself. Sometimes YouTubers do that. They reinvent themselves and then they, you know, do another reinvention or another rebrand. And it looked like he's, you know, trying to find his new path. Like his channel, not the Roommates channel, I think is under his name. The channel under his name, he's doing something completely different from what the Roommates do. So he's trying to find his own way. He's trying to find his own way, and I respect that. But it's you know, it is what it is. It is what it is. So it wasn't a matter of trusting or not trusting. I never looked at him as a part of the. I never looked at him as a part of the manosphere or part of the red pill community. So it wasn't a matter of trusting or not trusting. It was like he was over there, he was doing his thing, he dipped his toe in it, and now he's facing backlash. Now he's trying to completely dip his toe out of it. That's pretty much what it is. Sir Tyson the Builder says, I never liked or trusted this dude. He's basically Mr. Let Go Less Hood. I didn't think Mr. Let Go was hood. I mean, he wear hoodies, but I didn't think he was hood. But he goes where the traction in pandering is. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah, Mr. Let Go is a unique case. I ended up talking about him yesterday. Oh, yeah, I think that was yesterday. He's a unique case. I'll just say that.
So if you're an extremist,
God damn, this taking forever. I'm only halfway through this whole video.
I'm
not going to be able to finish this because I was getting off of here at 4.
Whether it's politically, whether it's financially, you know, whether it's romantically, any sort of extremist has major blind spots. So striking the balance, whether it's the East and West, whether it's the pros and cons of marriage, I think is important, and it's a very nuanced discussion. A lot of people are, this is the way it is, and it's black and white. Like Ali mentioned, there's a lot of gray area in all this. Let me move on to the next topic. Nat, do you want to weigh in here on any comments you want to super chats, or should we wait a second?
We can wait. Let's get some questions. I know we have a lot of super chats that are comments. I want to get some good questions.
Basically, the dangers of the wrong mate selection. And women
15 to 20 years. Yeah.
And you were a basketball coach. Women, this many women for this many years.
Well, I don't know what you're paraphrasing for. I don't know. So the women aren't special. I don't know if I said that exactly. I think possibly what I was alluding to is that we put them in a position in society to believe that they're the prize when we bring valuable things to relationships. So I want to make sure I clarify that.
Okay.
A statement like women aren't special was very generic. So I don't believe I said something.
Hold up, we gotta stop the show. Alan Roger Curry back in the building. He says, BR, first time catching a stream of yours live since probably April. Although I've seen a handful of your archived streams over the last 6 months. None of your viewers are NFL fans. LOL, my Bears lost on Thursday, so I don't give a fuck. Yeah, shout out to ARC. Shout out to ARC, Mr. Mode 1. And whenever we end up mentioning you, ARC, my moderator RM, she dropped the links in your chat to your books. Whenever we end up, because I know I always say some of these conversations we end up directly or indirectly talking about your stuff. I shout you out. She always dropped the links right there for you. For your books, where people can find your information. If we ever talk about your information, I always make sure the link is in the chat room. Shout out to ARC. Do appreciate you coming on through, putting something on it. Haven't heard from you in a minute. Definitely good to see you. Shout out to ARC.
Something like that, but I probably could have said something like that. With that being said, I want people to really look at the long-term pictures of relationship, and especially for men. When men pursue women, we have to pedestalize them in the sense and we have to demonstrate to them why they're so valuable at that point in life. However, the tide changes and the pendulum swings. There's significant amount of value that men have and bring into relationships that they discount. And I'm telling men, you're discounting this value, and men don't find out what that value is until later.
Yeah, you're saying to play the long game. Essentially, what you're saying.
Understand the long game. Because a lot of times we only look at the short term, right? There's a phrase with married people we use, men get married and hope their woman will never change.
Right.
Women get married, hope their men will change. Inevitably, both of them are disappointed. And we know this throughout the statistics and mostly through experience and conversations we've had. The reality is men look at the short term.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize, as we know, women aren't going to sleep with you as a husband, or they may continue to leverage that as she leveraged it in your pursuit because you pedestalized it.
That's a more accurate way to say it. It can get leveraged if you married to a chick that's on some bullshit, or in a long-term relationship with a chick that's on some bullshit, and you kind of got to be pretty damn weak your damn self. She will use that against. Well, in a relationship, if you're pretty weak, she'll use that against you and you'll stay with her. In a marriage, when she got all that leverage, yeah, she will leverage it against you. It won't always be an instant stop. It won't be. He said it like it'll be a forced stop. It won't be a forced stop, but it can get used as a weapon. It can get used as a weapon, and you got them legally binding documents at the courthouse and kids involved. It's like it's not. It's not a simple thing to counter. Put it like that. It's not a simple thing to counter. No doubt. Shout out to Coach Greg Adams on that.
That's going to be an error, and you're going to have a hard time trying to realize that. Not only that, there's nobody you can turn to that can help you. Nobody's going to go to your wife and say, hey, you're doing it wrong. Go sleep with your husband. Go suck him off. All right. Go make your husband feel good. Go tickle his balls. Guess what? He has no way to leverage. He has no way to turn that tide. And then he's stuck. And as we know, he's not going to pull the trigger on that marriage. That's just the reality.
Do women have these types of conversations that he's kind of alluding to, and the fact that you're like, I go my husband gets sex all the time. Do women have these types of conversations internally?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard women talk fulfilled on their end.
Sorry for you guys who want to hear what this woman got to say. I'm trying to skip more to the back and forth between Hafeez and Coach Greg Adams. Like, this shit is longer than what I anticipated. I even made it a part where they got a little more intense, but I make sure I got the link to the channel in the chat room.
I can only speak generally, and some people try to speak specifically about things. I just go in general this, and then this gentleman might have a different position.
That's a real good point that he's making.
Experiences as evident.
That life, like, it's always been the same. My husband and I, our expectations are the same. We've both been able to be comfortable in our intimacy.
Yeah.
What we call that.
Okay, what she just said right there was basically everything is wonderful in my marriage. Me and my husband fuck every day. just to give a rough summary of what she said.
We've both been able to be comfortable in our intimacy.
Yeah.
What we call that is anecdotal evidence, right? And so she's probably trying to support her argument based on her experiences as opposed to me. I'm more general. I can't speak to her. I can't speak for him. I can only speak generally. And some people try to speak specifically about things. I just go in general this, and then this gentleman might have a different position. She might be able to say, hey, based on my experience, but that doesn't help anybody because they are only using their personal experience.
Yeah, I would say it's less common for women to be sitting around thinking about. I mean, in my opinion, I've heard it less. Exactly. It's not like something that,
But back to the fact
I didn't have a whole lot to add there because, like, Coach Greg Adams, he said it perfectly right there. And excuse me, that speaks to a lot of what we talk about in this space. A lot of times we're talking about what will generally happen. An individual man can beat what generally happens. An individual man could roll up his sleeves and try to beat a statistical probability. I'll never say that a man can't win, and if he wants to win that race, I'll never tell him don't run it. But generally speaking, from a probability standpoint, these are some factors that need to be averaged into the equation. Like, that's pretty much where it's at. Like, even in the beginning of this discussion, Coach Greg Adams said that he don't think anybody says well, he probably slightly wrong on that, but he was saying he don't think anybody just like says don't get married. For the most part, the conversation is about giving men the current information on marriage. That's for the most part what the discussion is about, and that's more or less what I want it to be, what I like it to be. Give men the current information, the best possible information when it comes to state-sanctioned marriage, A lot of times that marriage comes from, that information comes from people like Coach Greg Adams or myself, who's been through divorce, who's been in the belly of that beast. So yeah, that's where it's at. The most current, accurate information.
Coached women for 20 freaking years. You've been around thousands of women. Is there some sort of like?
What were the age groups of that?
Same way as I wouldn't date my daughter.
He just made a random point that
I didn't make it random.
I'm
here we go.
Interested in those questions because, like, when I love her questions. God believes the world should run as possible, and so to me, the best advice benefits men and benefits women. That's me. I don't know where you are, if you believe in God or not. I don't know who kind of person you are, but like when you line your words up with God, like that's when, to me, your words have the most weight. Dr. Peterson, that's why I feel like he's so powerful. His words transcend humanity and his.
Shoot! Now I'm mad at I skipped ahead because Coach Greg Adams said this was a part where he said, "There's no God in modern marriage."
Okay, you don't feel anything. That's fine. What would be your take if your daughter gets married and he's a high value man and he's cheating on her? And she comes to you in a sense like, Dad, this is how I'm feeling. This is what's going on. Like, what do I do?
Well, as I said, I can offer her some fatherly advice in the situation.
Can you give us an example?
No, because what tends to happen is people use this particular argument to try to see if I can change my position.
No, it's not even a change.
Facts. they trying to smuggle his daughter into the conversation to see if he changes points.
I know, but see, this is a very. I know
because there's a lot of men who are fathers and they think about that and they're like, wait, how do I,
exactly?
And that would be a realm of like, how many, like a lot of men have daughters out there and maybe they don't know how to have that conversation or like how to seek some sense of comfort for a young female girl going out into the world.
The best way to have an open ear of a woman is if she's experienced. So a lot of times if I tell her, obviously that's going to be a situation where she'd be more likely to listen. But anybody that's ever been a father and had young women, and of course, I'm sure you have a father, and to Hafeez's point, we probably saved a lot of men from being single fathers or at-risk fathers. At this point, when you're dealing with young women, they need to get the experience first until they have an open ear. With men, on the other hand, because they have a lot of places to turn to, but I wouldn't use my content and then try to frame it in a position of what I would do with my daughter, because that's a kind of a personal situation, right? It's a personal situation. Because that way, then you say, oh, are you telling this guy not to marry your daughter and to cheat on your? No. Because my daughter, same way as I wouldn't date my daughter, but I could date people in that daughter's range once she's 20, 25, 30. So it's not the same thing.
Gotcha.
Do you want your daughter to get married? Yes or no? Or you're not going to answer that question?
She can get married if she would like to.
Do you want her to?
I don't think it's necessary in this age. No.
For a woman? For a woman.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You don't think it's necessary for women to get married?
Why?
Western marriage, there's no longer a necessity for it unless you were looking out for something in the future, potentially if you want to have children. So if she said, hey, I'm looking to get married, I want to have kids, I'd probably say the best context would be to get married. But that doesn't mean get married to anyone. You see what I mean? There are ways that I can level this. Do I want her to get married? Yes or no? Well, who is she marrying? When? Where? How long? There's a whole bunch of context.
But to me,
it's just not a yes or no question.
So, Hafeez, what's your issue with this? Go ahead.
So it's always an interesting conversation because to me,
this is a legit line of questioning, because when somebody is completely against marriage, you ask them, do you want your daughter to get married? It is a way to try to tug at their emotions to get them to change their position, but it's still a good thought experiment. So I'm not knocking Hafeez for asking that question. I just want to say that I'm not knocking him for asking that question, because like I always say, I'm pro family. I don't like state sanctioned marriage. I'm very, very pro family. I don't like state sanctioned marriage. But this is an interesting, and this where it gets interesting, about to get intense.
Like one of the things I'm obsessed with, and Dr. Peterson talks about this so well, is that the more your words are in line with the truth, the more powerful those words are. And I don't know where you are, if you believe in God or not. I don't know who kind of person you are, but like when you line your words up with God, Like, that's when, to me, your words have the most weight. Dr. Peterson, that's why I feel like he's so powerful. His words transcend humanity and it speaks on this divine level. And so to me, when you're giving advice, your advice has to be as in line with what God believes the world should.
Thank you, whoever said that. Because I'll be honest, I don't listen to Coach Greg Adams as much as a lot of people. So if there's an aspect of his position that I may not understand, I do appreciate the correction. MJ says CGA is not against marriage. He's against marriage without leverage. And that's how you know the difference. And he's advocating for men to have the best possible situation for them. Hafeez is about to say that the best information has to be information that's good for men and for women. I kind of disagree. I think you give men the best possible information. You help men the most, and then put it like this. That's where my bias comes in. I'm going to advocate for men, but I've always said that if men have a tendency to take care of women, regardless of all this red pill stuff we talk about, whatever. All roads lead back to a man eventually is going to sit down somewhere with a woman. It is what it is. If a man is on point and has leverage in that situation to where he feels comfortable in dealing with that situation with a woman where he has the leverage and the ball is in his court, then that woman is going to benefit. Children that come from that is going to benefit. If she stays on board with this man, then that's where her benefit is going to come from. So I say benefit the man, and then the woman benefits will trickle down. I think if you benefit the woman, I think she's going to abuse the power of those benefits. And the current situation that we're in proves that. The current situation that we're in proves that. So I just say, it's not that I just have some chauvinistic, misogynistic, disdain for the women. No, I say that giving them anything is like, giving them any leverage is like, yeah, I don't see how that works. The situations work when men are in the leverage or the power position when it comes to women. Shout out to ARC. Do appreciate what you said right there. It says, BR, your camera, microphone, and overall visual presentation is on point. 5 stars, brother. Kudos. Much respect. He says respect. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. And tell people I just bit the style of MTR. I just went to his video and saw he used that camera better than me. I probably need to do something else with the lighting to make it even better, because his stuff be even more clear. But thank you for the compliment. Thank you for the compliment.
To run as possible. And so to me, the best advice benefits men and benefits women. That's the best advice. To your opinion, we had 70 years of advice only benefiting women and men suffering as because of it. That is a lie. That is wrong. And the opposite extreme is wrong as well. A world where it all benefits men and the women don't benefit, it's wrong. That's why it's about the balance. And so to me, I'm very.
You had a platform. You were in cahoots with Derek Jackson. Nobody heard you calling for balance then. You dip your toe into the red pill manosphere space, and now you're crying for balance. That's fake.
Very curious about. I love her questions because it was like it's not a gotcha question. It was a genuine, serious question. Shout out my guy AMS. I love AMS. He did a video about advice I would give to my daughter, where
that video with him and AMS. I see. Okay, I thought about covering that because he was saying a bunch of blue pill stuff when he was talking to AMS. He's saying a bunch of blue pill stuff, but I was like, nah, because I'm very selective about men that I criticize. If I listen to you and I think that you have men's best interest in mind with most of what you say, I'm not going to criticize you. We'll just have our little small disagreements. But now that I see what's going on, it's like I gotta put him back in the Derek Jackson box to where it's open season, weapons free, whatever the hell. That's where I'm at. Once you get put back in the Derek Jackson box, I can do reaction videos to your shit. But I stay on code if I think you're more, got men, particularly black men's best interest in mind with the majority of what you do and say.
He actually answers the questions directly. And so to me, I'm very interested in those questions because like when I would watch Kevin Samuels and God rest the dead, and it was so powerful because he would always push women to being married because he knew the beauty and the value and the protection and the safety, like being a woman and being married. Nobody wants their daughter to be 41 years old.
No, he would push women to hold on.
Single mom, baby mama of 3. Nobody wants that for the daughter.
See, no. Kevin Samuels would push women to be marriageable, to not be a 42-year-old single mother baby mama of 3. That's what he would push women to do. He did want men to he did want men to get married. He did want that. He did used to push. Kevin Samuels did used to push for marriage, but he used to push for it for he used to push for it to men to get married, but it'd be a great deal for them. This woman is to be fit, feminine, friendly, submissive, show up with no kids. That's what he was pushing for. That's what he's pushing for. The best possible deal. Now you could argue that once that marriage happens, if they do it legally binding documents at the courthouse, and that man is, of a certain value, high value, or whatever the hell, then there goes the leverage. That was probably the only nitpicking flaw in what Kevin Samuels talked about. That I'll say that was definitely a nitpicking flaw that these women who are who's trying to push to be a certain way, they end up being that way. They end up getting that man. Then who the hell knows what's going to happen then once that man signed those legally binding documents. But overall, what I say Kevin Samuels' message truly was using the dangling the carrot of that high value man to get the women into the door to sit down and have a real discussion about Black relationships and debate manosphere talking points and basically get it out there for the world what the truth is and the reality is, as as it's really presenting itself, to debunk the whole narrative that's been going on for those 7 years that he conceded to, of 70 years of niggas ain't shit. Basically, Kevin Samuels set out to debunk all of that bullshit, which he did effectively. So dangling the carrot of marriage to a high value man is how I just got the women in the door, to tell them some real shit, to tell them that they didn't qualify for it, to tell them if they could get that damn bus driver, a garbage man, a construction worker, or assembly line worker, if they could actually get him. Your regular average at best ass is overachieving, because he probably shouldn't even deal with your head. You should kiss the damn feet of this man. Like that's why I definitely rocked with Kevin Samuels. And then he dipped his toe into, like I said, the red pill, got some Kevin Samuels audience, got some AMS audience, got some Fresh and Fit audience, and now he trying to jump back over on the Derrick Jackson side of things, and his audience apparently, I think it seems as if his audience is turning against him, and that's why he's fighting against the red pill.
Or especially if they want kids. So to me, I think the part of the conversation needs to be, is this information benefiting both human beings? When you're on Team Men, it only needs to benefit Team Men. If you're on Team Republican, it only needs to benefit Team Republican.
When you're on Team Men and you get men moving right and making the best decisions for themselves, it's like it kind of turns into a question of what are you advocate. You can't advocate for everything. You can advocate for a man to get his best possible outcome, and any woman that meets that man's standards could benefit from his best possible outcome. You could advocate for that. But when you're advocating for the women, you're telling men to just go and dive on a grenade. I'm about to, damn it, I got to let this play. So I want to get to the fight.
If you're on Team America, has to benefit all Americans. If you're on Team Human, that has to benefit both males and females. So that's why I loved her questions, because I think the best, like, I can give my hardcore advice to benefit men, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, the most hardcore advice that benefits men simultaneously benefits women.
One more thing I'll add.
That part is accurate. If you give it the advice that benefits, if you give the advice that benefits men in the long run, it will benefit women. Only way the advice doesn't benefit women is if you tell, if the advice you're giving to men is don't deal with women at all, completely separate from women 100%. Like so. I understand where he's coming from that regard. Like it can be advice for preventative advice for men can end up creating a lot of the same problems if it's too much of it. I mean, there's something to be said there. I don't feel like fleshing that out. I might do a whole separate video on that. But all right, let's.
That, and I hope I don't mean to offend you. There's no God in marriage in the United States, so that's kind of misleading, and people will find that out if your marriage is destroyed. You go back to your pastor and you say, "Hey, my marriage is being destroyed." He has no power over that because it is a state agreement. So I will bring you back to make sure you understand, and I counsel men. There's no God in marriage. That's been gone. Listen, it was an old idea. It's absolutely gone unless you live in an American South. So most people on the West Coast, many people in the East Midwest, there's no God in marriage. So
we break that down. What do you mean there's no God in marriage?
There's no God in marriage. So people get married. One of the things that they will do is they will seek counsel of the church. And then as such, the guys will give them guidance and it will be biblical principle. However, they will say we can't do anything until you sign this state-sponsored agreement with family law context. All right. They're not going to have a Bible in there. They're not going to have a Bible in that divorce court. The judge is not going to ask you, do you like God? And what about God in your marriage? There will be no context to that. And such, what is the overriding principle here?
Does
your marriage is state funded, not God funded?
He just made a random point.
I didn't make it random. I told you that this will offend you.
What Coach Greg Adams said is fact. They don't give a damn about God. When you get in that damn courtroom going through a divorce, it ain't got God ain't got shit to do with it. It's no other way around it. You can personally, spiritually, emotionally say God ordained this marriage, but when you can't be legally married in this country through the church. So therefore, they can't make it seem like this is some ordained by God thing. Coach Greg Adams is right.
Offended you.
What did I say? No, it didn't offend me. You're just wrong. Let me say. But
wait.
Let me finish. Let me finish.
There's no God in the marriage in the United States.
And you can talk. Let me finish.
No, hold for a second.
Let me finish.
Are you going to say there's no God in marriage in the United States?
Coach, finish your point. You're saying there's no God in marriage in the United States.
Correct.
Got it.
That was his point. So I can now I'm going to talk. So I made a point and I said, if your truth aligns with God, that truth is most powerful. That's what I said. If your truth aligns with God, meaning the word that you speak aligns with God, those words are the most powerful. Then he made a point saying there is no God in marriage. So first, that's a semantic thing because God is everywhere. Whether God chooses to supervene in things or not, I will never be the person that says God is not here. I will never be the person that says God is not present here. Could we argue that is God blessing every American Western marriage? Of course not. Of course, God is not blessing every American, but God is definitely in my parents' marriage. So when you say there is absolute,
this is where it just comes off as disingenuous. We know he understands that Coach Greg Adams saying that in the United States, the marriage cannot be validated by the church and it cannot be absolved by the church. That's what he means when he's saying God is not in marriage. We know what he's talking about. Now, whatever you spiritually feel is a whole nother thing.
Statements. There is no God in marriage. False. Correct. There is no God in some marriages. There is no God in most marriages in regards to by being there no God, meaning that God's not blessing it, right? So if you're saying that God is not blessing what's happening in most marriages, that is a true statement. But to say there is no God in marriages, period, that is a false statement because God is in my marriage and God is also in my parents' marriage. And I will continue to say, when it comes to even understanding the ideas of God, God gives human beings free will. It's a very simple concept. You can freely sin or you can freely obey. And God, like a good father, if you want to touch the stove, you can touch the stove. And so to me, I just think when people make statements like this, how do you expect people to feel? There is no God.
Anybody to feel. I want them to know. I want them to understand. We want them to know. We can't feel anything.
I'm talking, and then you get the opportunity to talk. So to me, it's how do you expect people to react? And so my biggest thing is that what I'm only communicating in regards to the marriages is that if you are a man, do your due diligence, be able to see if she fits your life, be able to see what is her family background. You can't protect yourself.
Real quick. If y'all new here, subscribe. Somebody just congratulated me for hitting 12K subs, but I'm about to hit 12,100 subs. I need like 15 more to go for that. So if you're in here and you're new and you like this content, subscribe. Let's give me over 12,100. Let me give me over 12,100 before we get up out of here. Let's go.
100% from business failure, from friendship failure, from anything in life. But there is wisdom, there is godly principles that you can adhere to that can benefit you. But there's no absolute guarantees that everything in life will be successful. No one's teaching anybody.
But and I'm not the most religious.
Hey, I've been saying it for a long time. Black YouTube ain't shit. I was at 12,000. Hold on, let me make. Yeah, I was at 12,085 subs. After I said that, my shit went to 12,084 subs. Somebody heard me say that and fucking unsubscribed. Y'all ain't shit. Anyway.
Just person here. So let me just give that disclaimer out there. You either. Right, but yeah. How, like, I feel like God is all faith. It's all, I believe in this. And no matter what you tell me, you're not going to convince me otherwise, because this is what I believe. I'm sure that there's tons of marriages out there that they believe, they go to church every Sunday, and then next thing you know, they get divorced, and God was in their marriage. So I'm just trying to establish what a godless marriage is, or God-filled marriage is, like how that genuinely curiosity, like how that works. Because he's saying no. I think what Coach is basically saying is like, look, I don't care if you're going to church every Sunday or not. At the end of the day, your marriage is between you, your significant other, and the
right
state.
Here on earth.
Forget about it.
Not in the clouds. And
that's what he's. That's essentially
did you
what
ask
he's
him a question, or
no? I'm just bringing this out to the panel.
What we tell people is that hope is not a strategy. All right, hope is not a strategy in anything. I hope my business goes well. I hope I don't get injured today. I hope I succeed today. We tell people real life principles. All right, we don't live in the clouds. We live here on earth, whether you believe this is heaven or hell. So I want you guys to understand you're dealing with earth here. This is a reality.
Are you a believer?
Absolutely not.
You're not a believer of God.
No.
Okay, but obviously, Hafeez, you are.
Yeah, and
were
so
you ever a believer?
So how can you say that?
Here's the deal. What tends to happen is people are introduced to things based on someone else's biases. Okay, and those biases are introduced to children and so forth and so on. So yes, at some point, that was the only story I knew until I investigated on my own, decided as a man what principles to stand on, and then realized I don't live by hope. I don't live by cope. I live with what's real here. Okay. And let's talk about what's real instead of the mystique of this damn thing here. What's real is hope is not a strategy.
So if you don't,
I love it. Can I address it? Go ahead. Yeah. So first and foremost, like I said, it's very interesting. I've always told you got to hear someone's background, and then you know where they lean. That's where you know where their advice gears towards. So it's such a even when I talk about God. Like the idea of God in his brain is not the idea I'm talking about. It's this interesting verse in the Bible. I won't get too lost in the sauce in the book of Isaiah, where God is where somebody's like farming, and he's talking about the intricacies of farming. And he says, even that wisdom comes from God. God is not the God of get married happily ever after. That's foolishness. God gives you wisdom. What is the wisdom? Actually do premarital counseling. What is the wisdom? Actually be able to decide, okay, if things don't work out, what are we going to do? Where are the kids going to go? What's the money going to go? Things going to work out. Who's going to be the primary breadwinner? Who's not? God gives you the wisdom to be intelligent, to be able to navigate. Hope is not a strategy. 100% right. Hope is not a strategy. But God's message is not just simply blind hope. It's wisdom. Literally, Jesus said, be as wise as a serpent, but as innocent as a dove. You have to understand how to
Anthony Baker says,
able to navigate on this earth. So
Hafeez, he's going with straight feels all day. Straight feels all day. But shoot, let's get to the point. I said I gotta shut this down at 4:00 because I got somewhere I got to be. I wanted to get into more of this, man. This is just too much to break down.
100% right. No one's teaching hope as a strategy. That's a straw man argument. True godly wisdom is relevant. True godly wisdom is what made Adam a millionaire. True godly wisdom is what made Patrick Bet-David build this amazing company. It's actual practical step-by-step guidance that benefits people's lives. So no one's talking about hope being a strategy. Simply pray to God and your marriage is going to work out.
He didn't say that. I don't know why I just keep pausing him at the most craziest times. All right. Coach Greg Adams didn't say that. Coach Greg Adams that is saying legally, factually speaking, in the West, in America specifically, there's no God in marriage. That's giving people the raw, real, hard-hitting evidence and facts of reality. That's what he's giving them. What you feel, or him feel, that's what he what you feel has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with it. I might do a part two. I see what you're saying down here, Excalibur. But what Hafeez feels has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do with that. He's giving him information. If you want to personally have, belief in God in your life, and you believe that God is ordaining your marriage, then that's fine. But your marriage isn't validated through the church. Your marriage cannot be ended or absolved through the church. The preacher could basically, y'all can have marriage counseling, and the preacher could say, no, I support y'all separating. Y'all are no longer together. The preacher could do that. But if y'all don't go down to the state and get it absolved through the state, y'all are still married legally. That's what he's saying. To bring out all these feels is ridiculous. He said he kind of looks like Draymond Green. Are you talking about me, or are you talking about him? Because I got accused of looking like, some people accuse me of looking like Draymond Green. And I've also been accused of looking like him. So if you're saying he looked like Draymond Green, then I guess that's just a full circle. But all right, y'all, I'm sorry. I'm going to do a part two. This is shit. God damn it. I'm going to do a part two, but I do feel halfway bad because we didn't make it all the way through. There's some more good parts of this. That's the link right there. Y'all go click on that. Y'all click on that and watch the actual link to the actual discussion if y'all want to hear the rest of the discussion. I feel bad we didn't get all the way through it. I was talking too much. Well, I'm supposed to be talking too much in my goddamn channel. But all right, we got to get up out of here. Shout out to Osmosis Reacts in the building. Says Hafeez spends time being the manosphere police. And I ain't the manosphere police, like almost like the manosphere third shift security guard at Toys R Us. Ain't policing shit. All right. Pan-African BM Big Towel? Black MGTOW? Okay. Pan-African Black MGTOW Patriarch. Yeah, I don't know how that works. Pan-African MGTOW Patriarch. I don't know if you could be Pan-African and MGTOW, but be a patriarch. I mean, MGTOW by definition is not patriarchal. And to be Pan-African, you got to be damn near on some at least black men and black women being together, which is not very MGTOW of you. And if black men and black women are not together, then you can't be you can't be a patriarch. So then how are you a black MGTOW? I'm just going to read the super chat. All right. Shout out to you. I'm sorry. I apologize. I do. I didn't mean to. I'm just trying to figure out Pan-African Black MGTOW Patriarch. I don't know how that makes global black man patriarch. Okay, wait, hold on. Okay. Global black man patriarch. Oh. Okay, I get it. That's what you're saying. Black man, you're going your own way. Okay, but see, the part of the going your own way thing, it's no patriarch in that. Because it's walking away from the patriarchal shit. I do apologize because I don't like to shit on people's shit. I don't know, man. I don't know. But anyway, let me read your super chat. I appreciate your support. I just the math wasn't mathing with the name. But all right. The religious concept / narrative validating Western marriage, King James Version of social norms. God is love. Western marriage is lust. Thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate that. And I apologize for bastardizing your purpose, intent, and name and everything. But yeah, I wouldn't connect the dots. But all right, y'all. Here's the link Here's the link if y'all want to go finish watching that. Yeah, I want to go finish watching that. Here's the link. I may do a part 2 follow-up. I might not. But there's the link if y'all want to watch the rest of it. Sorry I didn't get through all of it. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace. I'm gone.